your home complete comfort. Hi, this is Michael Sion, and this mindfulness style meditation is for developing your calm by consciously inviting a sense of calm of the mind and the body whenever you choose. This meditation is suitable for your regular day or night's listening, or for those important moments for a more mindful time out. Whenever some much needed mindful calm can be just the ideal antidote to dissolving any build-ups of stress or worries or tensions, or any habits of overthinking, or even any tendencies towards self-critical thoughts, and those energies accumulated throughout the day. So to begin, find a comfortable place for your meditation to unfold. In a place and a position you are able to focus a little more, orienting to your inner awareness, and allowing this important time for yourself to just relax and release all external busyness of the day, to give yourself all permissions to simply be. And take a few moments first to become aware of your conscious presence in this present. Becoming aware of your breathing, the movement of the body as it settles. Aware of the rise and fall of the chest. And orienting the mind's awareness a little more as the mind settles. If you've not already done so, then on your next breath out, just allow the eyes to close, noticing the gentle closing of the eyes' lids as each next normal breath continues. Allowing a simple observation within the mind to the flow of each breath. And observing without judgment or without any tendencies towards the mind's criticism or those self-evaluations. Allowing the mind's inner critic to move gently aside as best you can. By simply allowing a self-acceptance here to unfold in this present moment.
Credentials.
Yo, yo. Welcome to the Afi Kingdom podcast.
Got my man Ryan over here, and I got myself. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, it's a beautiful day, brother. Like it always is.
That's what's up. So press one in the chat if you guys are ready for some fire game, because you for sure finna get some. And as always, it's not rehearsed, not to be duplicated, man. We're gonna put you guys on some major game. Press the one in the chat if you're ready for it. I gotta make sure they want it, Ryan.
Yep,
Got-
yep.
You gotta make sure they want it.
Only a few people here so far. That's all right, though. Guys
Hey,
that are here, they want it. That's good. They here early, too.
it's all good. I'm all about the content, man. So, how's everything, man?
Life is good, man. Staying busy. This started this whole thing up earlier this year, this whole hypnosis business, Hypnosis for Men.
Right.
Been doing this since June, more or less, and went full-time earlier this month. It's been a great ride. It's been a hell of a ride. It's been a hell of a year, actually. I was talking with Sterling about this, man. Like 2020 has been one of the best years of my life. Everybody goes on and on about how the coronavirus this and like quarantine that and stuff like that. But this has been an amazing year for me.
I'd have to agree with you, man. It's been a very insightful year, if I to say the least, man.
Yep.
Just a lot of new experiences and a lot of eye-opening things have happened to me, you know, to just change
Yeah.
your direction and how everything goes, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's amazing. Once you actually get time to kind of step away from the grind just a bit,
Mm.
get just a little bit of space, it's like, okay, now I actually have all this time, energy, and space available to do all the things I've been saying I wanted to do.
Right.
You start plugging away on that stuff, and things change in a hurry,
Yeah, man.
like a big hurry.
Well, what I want to do is I want to give you a chance to tell these people who you are. So let me ask you like maybe three questions, and we can just roll from there. So the first one,
Sounds
I'm
good.
gonna just ask you to tell the people like who you are and what got you into hypnosis, period. And then we'll break
Sure.
down the power of the mind and stuff and segue into that. But I'm gonna are you ready for the camera? Zoom.
Ready, brother?
You see, I got that hypnosis music, that chill music in the background.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Start playing with people's heads already. Alrighty. Yep, I'm ready, man. So my name is Ryan Christensen. I am a certified hypnotist. My business is hypnosisformen.net. I have been certified as a hypnotist, got certified earlier this year. I'm actually a 23-year veteran of the intelligence community. I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps as a Russian linguist. I spent another 6 years in the Air National Guard doing intel for F-16s, F-22s, Predators, and U-2s. About 16 years doing the whole contractor gig in the DC metropolitan area for a variety of customers. I'll just leave it at that. Did counterterrorism for about 7.5, 8 years. Did counterproliferation for about another 7.5, 8 years. Did some project management stuff, running around the world, saving the world. And eventually got to the point where I realized this world rather stubbornly does not want to be saved. Do all this, spend all this time, spend all this energy, all this personal sacrifice and everything trying to save the world, and it just doesn't want to be. You're buying time for people that waste that time that you buy. So I started looking around for something with a little bit more personal impact a couple of years back after my second divorce, because I knew that was about time for a change. There was some time and space for me to start making some big moves. So I started looking back then. I actually called in Richard Cooper's Before the Train show a couple of times and talked to Dr. Sean Smith, who's a psychologist, because I've done some therapy before. I've been through, some stuff in my life and had some things that I needed to manage, and got some good results with that over the years, and thought that might be a path I wanted to go down. But of course, to be a psychologist, you have to get a doctorate in psychology, which is about a 5 or 6 year process if you've already got your bachelor's. And that's about 250, 300 grand.
Right. You say yes,
Which is a lot at 50 years old, which was not what I wanted to be doing with my life. Didn't want to wait that long to start actually making an impact, right? Not to mention the fact that I'd still have to be working full time during that whole mess, and that just didn't seem appealing. So started looking around a little bit more, got involved with John from Modern Life Dating's Body Language Mastery Group back in Q3 of 2019, and got in and did a session with Ryan Fowler there, which blew my mind. Ryan Fowler's a hypnotist down in Dallas, Texas. Innermasculine.com is his website. And I just let loose a lot of trauma, and it created so much space for me to just start taking action. Felt like I'd had a 50, 100-pound backpack on my back for years that I just dropped. That much weight off my chest, weight off my back. And I realized that I could have as much of an impact, if not more, with hypnosis than I could ever do in psychology or whatever ever do with therapy. And it only takes about 100, 200 hours of training to get trained up as a hypnotist, to be able to use that skill set to get somebody into hypnosis. Now, the trick is, once you get somebody down there, what you do with them while they're in hypnosis is a completely different story, right? They give you the basics, but I had to spend some time going through other training courses and get some other different tool sets to build a modality and a skill set and a methodology that worked with the natural skills that I have from my 23 years in intelligence work. That took a couple months to do, but by the time June rolled around, I had a pretty reliable technique and a pretty reliable methodology. Started putting it out there in the world, and here we are, man.
Cool, bro. Is it hard not to like use your powers to your advantage?
Not particularly, because I spent so much time in the BDSM scene. Well, for one thing, I grew up as like a middle-class Midwest white boy in Kansas. Mm-hmm. So like nice guy is built into my genes, right?
Right.
That's just how I was raised. You know, I went to Catholic school growing up in the whole 9 yards, opening doors for people. I still do that all the time. I still open doors for women all the time. Mm-hmm. That's just how I was built, right? And once you get into the BDSM scene, you're in an environment where as a top, you have a lot of power over somebody who is fundamentally vulnerable, right? If you got somebody tied up, I can do whatever the fuck I want to with them, right? If somebody has been running through a scene and their mind is just goo, right? They're in a completely different altered space mentally, then they don't really retain that ability to make sane, logical decisions, which means I have the power to do whatever I want to with them, really. So there's a lot of emphasis in that scene as a top, as a dominant, of how to responsibly manage people who are in an altered state so that you're not taking advantage of them, so you're not violating their consent, so you're not stepping over boundaries that are going to get you in trouble once they get out of that state and back to normal, right? My thing was always that I never want to be somebody's morning after regret, right? If we hook up, I want you to still want like me in the morning. In fact, I want seconds and thirds. I'm not a one-night stand kind of guy. I'm a long weekend kind of guy, right? And the same sort of thing applies with hypnosis. I'm not going to use hypnosis to mess with you in a way that's counter to who you want to be. Mm. Now, I'll absolutely use it to make you a better person. I'll absolutely use it to help you get to the goals you want. And if I'm involved with a girl and we're experimenting with DS and we're experimenting with sexuality, I will absolutely use my hypnosis to enhance that. And there's some really cool stuff you can do along those lines. But I don't need to manipulate somebody against their will. Over the past couple of years.
I got a good question for you, brother.
Sure, go for it, man.
If you guys want a question before, you guys super chat the question before we do a Q&A. What makes you like not do it to yourself just to make your life easy? Like let me just tell myself the perfect score, the perfect journey way to get $1 million. Wake up. Like, how come you don't do that?
I sort of do, but it's a little bit trickier than that, right? So I have a personal block against helping myself to a certain degree because I'm an incredibly intelligent, incredibly savvy guy, so I know when I'm bullshitting myself. So affirmations, for example, have never worked for me. I can stand in front of the mirror and tell myself I'm awesome, and the back of my head is like bullshit, right? So doing self-hypnosis and saying like, oh, you're awesome, you're just going to crush it, and yada, 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 that doesn't really work. What does work very well for me is figuring out why I'm holding myself back and then getting those things released so that I can do whatever I need to. What works really well for me is listening to other guys who know what they're doing, tell me that I'm on the right track, right? Listen to guys like Jonathan tell me what to do on the YouTube stuff. Listening to guys like Richard Cooper on the entrepreneur side, right? Listen to the guys who know what they're talking about with game, tell me how they go about things. And then I take their system and I figure out what works for me, and I start walking down that path, right? A lot of times, the part of the problem with hypnosis as it's traditionally portrayed is that whole power of positive thinking, you know, the secret side of things, where they think, oh, if you just tell yourself you're awesome, then everything happens. That's not really true, right? Telling yourself you're awesome, telling yourself you're incredibly lucky is going to open your eyes to opportunities in the world, but it doesn't do the work for you. You still have to get all the skills, right? I can sit there and there's a concept in hypnosis called infinite rehearsal. Okay, where you can take somebody into hypnosis and you can give them, have them live the experience of, say, playing a piano in Carnegie Hall or playing an NBA basketball game, right? And you can make that a vivid, real, lived experience for them, right? They can feel it, they can hear the crowd, all that other stuff, right? But I can sit there and do that with somebody and have them be a concert pianist for a year in hypnosis, and then bring them out of hypnosis and sit them down in front of a piano. And if they don't actually know how to play, they're still not going to be able to play, right? But what that can do is program into them the fact that it's possible to be that good, that kind of success is achievable, right? If I have them live an NBA game and they're already a basketball player, then they can live the experience of being that good. So when they're playing basketball, their mind is automatically taking them towards those skills and those drills and making those corrections to help them along that way. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Beautiful.
So if I want to be a online mogul millionaire, you can help me with that. You're gonna put that in my head, and then I'm gonna walk around.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna feel like I got a suit on when I really don't.
Yep. Or what you can feel like is that you're suited up as you're looking right now in that fly low bomber jacket you got going on.
Thank you.
Right? Because fundamentally, it's just, if I can help you understand that those things are possible, if I can have you live that experience of being a successful online mogul, right? Having 1 million YouTube subscribers, having people recognize you walking down the street, asking for your autograph, right? Making that fame a lived experience for you, then doing the steps to get there are easy, right? You got all the different resources, right?
So
you know where to go. Exactly.
You feel it first, then you taste the feeling.
Yes. Yeah. Basically, it's like setting your compass, right? If you're sitting there in the fog and you don't know where to go to reach your goal, you're just going to be bumbling around. Or if you think it's not even possible for you, right? Because there's a lot of people that just fundamentally don't believe that that kind of success is possible. So they never let themselves do the things they need to do to get there, right? But if I can set your compass to where you know what that feels like and you know what that looks like when you're going to be successful, you're going to know instinctively whether the things that you're doing are leading you in that direction or not. When opportunities come across your path, when courses come your way or guests come on your show or you see new podcasts pop up, you're going to be able to recognize, will that get me closer to where I'm going or not? Because you got that compass set. You know what that looks like. You know what things are going to feel like when you're there. And so your unconscious mind is going to help you do those things.
I practice that sort of thing. I believe in manifestation, and a lot of things that I've said have came true. And I remember I had a little dose of hypnosis before, and I can 100% tell the people in the chat and the playback that it's 100% real. I think the problem is people mistake hypnosis for magic, and it's not magic. You have to want to be put under. Like, people go into it like, it ain't gonna work on me. Yeah, it's not,
and it won't,
because you just said it. You closed your mind off. But I remember I kind of put myself under a little bit, and I can really get into my subconscious. I kind of like worked on that years ago, because I remember I went to the first time I went under, I was on a cruise, and
nice.
I was on a cruise, and they had a hypnosis on board. So he was doing like raunchy Michael Jackson stuff, right? So he pulled and I'm telling you, it's because for real, because I did this I did it like 1, 2, 3 times, maybe 4 times, but I know I could think of 3 times particular. So let me tell y'all. So basically, hold on. Actually, I can't talk looking at myself like that. I tried. So I went, and so he had everybody go on stage. So maybe there was about 30 of us. So there's 30 of us on stage, and he's telling us, focus on it, do that sort of thing. And so I noticed the one part that stuck out to me. Actually, I'm getting the times mixed up, but it's still the same difference. So one particular time, the dude, he says, put your hands together like this, interlock them. And the harder that you try to pull them apart, the
Hmm.
harder it is to separate them. And
Yep.
I was kind of under, and I couldn't separate my hands. So I woke up out of it because I'm like, oh hell no, because I don't know what the next thing is gonna be. That's all I
Yep.
needed to see. Like, okay, I know this is the real deal. And
Yep.
then, so it came to find out like he was just had people thinking they were Michael Jackson and doing all of this stuff, all the dances and
Yep.
whatever. But it worked out for me cool too. Like I remember in Vegas, the same sort of thing happened because now what happens is, and now I'm actually teaching you guys some game abundance mindset. So even though I did that, y'all would have been embarrassed to do that, right? Like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Dude, I was like famous for like the whole trip. You're the guy on stage. That so I became a famous person. I was a
Yep.
celebrity of the cruise, and then when I went to Vegas, hey, that's that guy, yay, So I'm
Yep.
just soaking in it. You know what I mean? So that's just, and even both of these times I'm speaking of, I was by myself. I went on the
Yep.
cruise, and then I went. So I'm telling you, like, live life and have cool ass experience. So then I start doing a little bit of reading and looking at YouTube videos, just practicing, and I can kind of just, like the best way I can explain it is just putting yourself in the sense where it's like when you go to sleep and you wake up out of a dream, but you're still
Hmm.
dreaming. That's the feeling. So it's like if I'm
Yep.
asleep and I'm still dreaming, but I can hear the alarm going off. Get yourself right there. So it's like you can kind of you feel one thing, but you're still aware of your surroundings. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's definitely a real thing. And now 100 something hours. Shit, I could take some classes and really be hey,
An actual hypnotist. Yeah.
yeah, hell yeah, man.
Really play with
I'm
people's
all
heads.
about the
Yeah.
money, brother. Shit. Hey, I'm on this online dough, bro. So hell yeah,
Yep.
like I sacrifice 6-8 months and and do that,
Yeah.
and then just for the fact of just like my lane, I do podcasts, so
Hmm.
I can. It's like a double whammy. Like, oh, I can.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I can give you a console and hook you up with this. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes, indeed.
it's
Yes,
it's it's a
indeed.
good thing. I'm trying to tell you guys in the chat too. Like, think bigger because bigger
Yep.
things
Yep.
will happen to you. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's all about being able to spot opportunity, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you spotted an opportunity to get up on stage there on that cruise and try something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you did that, all of a sudden you had some fame. You got everybody's attention because you're willing to do things that other people weren't willing to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that alone is enough to get you a little bit of social status, a little bit of social proof, right? You got to be a little bit daring to do that kind of thing. Got to be a little bit bold, right? Got a
Mm-hmm.
little bit be a little bit exhibitionistic, right? To do that kind of thing. And
Right.
those things are fun, right? One of the things that guys these days struggle with, I think, is that they don't lead interesting lives. They're freaking boring, right? They're sitting around, they're playing video games, they're doing the boring job, they're doing the same stuff everybody else is, like moaning about IPAs and what they're going to get from Starbucks and what kind of vegan, like fake meat things coming out next. And it's like, you have to live a more interesting life.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a more interesting life, then you've got stories. You got something that makes you feel and look alive. And when you do that, then you actually have something that women become interested in because you can spike their emotions. You can give them an experience they can't otherwise get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you sit there.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say you just sit there and you look at Instagram or look at like your typical Tinder dating profile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Half the women on there, more than half, I'd say like 2/3 to 3/4 of the women on those apps are, you look at their profiles and they're doing more interesting things than the guys are. They're out
That,
fucking skydiving and sitting in front of thrones, and they're out in Dubai, and they're on the beach, and they're on the lake, and they're doing yada yada yada. Right? They're doing 18 million different things, and the guys are bumming around in a bar, holding up a fish. Right? The comparison is really stark in terms of like the things that women are getting up to these days that are exciting and interesting versus the thing the guys are doing mostly, which is okay because it means that guys like you and me that actually lead interesting lives, that actually have stuff going on, well, it's easy for us to be in that top tier of guys, right? Never been
right.
easier.
Ryan, it's real funny that like a lot of time when I try to coach guys about things, I tell
Mm-hmm.
them, and you've even probably heard me saying in the webinar, just flip it around, right? So I
Yep.
want to say this, like when you guys find these baddies. Like, oh man, she's so bad. She has this kind of car. She's doing this. She snowboards. She plays instruments. She's super cool. Okay, so you understand that feeling that she gave you. Why not give it to the woman?
Yes, because if you don't, especially to a baddie that's doing stuff like that, what use does she have for you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fundamentally, if you can't make her feel, if you can't make a woman feel, man, what are you going to get from her, right? Women run off of emotion. Women run off of that excitement, that roller coaster, right?
Right.
If you can't make her feel, man, you ain't got no shot.
Right. Shout out to my fellow mindset coach RPC. He says driving and listening for sure. You know, even that, like everything that I talk about, bro, is about the mindset. I don't
Yep.
know how I got just how guys think it's dating for me and all of that. I don't even really, my content's not really about that. I don't really teach guys how to do certain things. You know, I kind of just teach them about how to think, how to react. And
because that's I have the answer for you. You want to hear this?
Yeah.
The number one biggest problem guys have these days is how to get a woman, how to get their woman life sorted, right? Guys can make it by on very little cash, right? You know, a 12-pack of Budweiser, some video games, that doesn't cost very much. We're more than happy to live in simple freaking housing if we don't have anything else going on, right? So we can get by on very little if we want to, right? But even in that situation where all you're doing is like drinking Bud and playing video games in a shitty little 3-bedroom apartment with 5 other dudes, like even then you still want to get laid. You still want to get your woman life on lock. So they're always going to be looking for ways to do that. So even though you're just talking mindset is critical to success in every area of your life. And the one they're going to apply it to first is their woman life, because that's the one that's most pressing and most stark, right? The most immediate one. Then they realize that it applies to everything else. Then they get the money and the muscles in addition to the game.
You know, bro, sometimes I contemplate. I say, you know what, man, I want to get my numbers up and just go full-fledged dating coach and be like, how to get phone numbers, how to get sex, how to get come from back from left and go. But I just say, man, I don't want to do that. But I know that lane is right there for the.
Oh yeah,
because that's where it is.
Well, I'll tell you, man, there's so many guys that need so much help these days because I don't know why, but guys are terrible at dating these days. Like they are terrible to person. They're worse than ever, right? And full up like honesty here, like I was bad at game until I was in my mid-20s. And even then I wasn't great because I basically was decent enough at game long enough to get married in the Marines, and that's not a high bar. You're essentially the hottest thing on a base, and anybody who's female that's walking by, you automatically like outrank everybody by about 12 points, right? So that wasn't exactly a hard thing for me to do. Plus, you're just getting out of Marine Corps boot camp, so you're on this like massive confidence spike. You could think you can conquer the world. That has that whole like big dick energy to it. That was easy. So it really wasn't until, I don't know, 10 years ago or so that I really started studying like pickup and everything else to where I actually needed to study that. So it wasn't until in my 30s before I really started studying game and how to like get attracted to women. And that's what got me my second wife. She was the most gorgeous woman I'd ever dated. And then I did the same thing that a lot of but pickup artist types do, where they get good enough that they get the girl of their dreams, and then they immediately lock them down, immediately take themselves out of the game, immediately get married, and then they go to shit because they didn't fix the mindset stuff, right? They got all the external game skills, but they didn't fix the mindset. They didn't actually internalize the red pill, right? They didn't internalize all the things that they really need to learn about how women actually work long-term, not just in that immediate, how to get them in bed, how to get them on a date, how to get them to be your girlfriend thing, right?
Right.
There's that long-term relationship management piece that people don't talk about in the pickup artist sphere. There's that mindset piece of just getting yourself on your own game, making yourself your mental point of origin, chasing excellence, right? Making women an accessory to your life rather than the center of it, that they don't talk about in the pickup artist sphere, that they don't talk about in the dating sphere, because those places are just all about how to get the woman. It's a little bit on what to do with them once you get them, but it's all about how to get the girls. And a man's life should be much, much, much larger than that. He should have a lot more going on in his life than just chasing tail. You should chase tail in order to meet that need and then immediately start doing something else, at least in my opinion, right? Everybody's got different needs in terms of what they need for variety and quantity of sex, right? So the amount of time you're going to be spending sourcing women is going to be different for each guy, right? Some guys are good with just having one girl. Some guys need like 6 or 7 at a time. Some need like one solid girl and then 1 or 2 new girls a week that they have fun with, right? Some guys are just going through as much pussy as they possibly can. It all depends on the guy. But fundamentally, you have to get that need met, or you kind of go insane. You go down that black pill incel, like giving up on life kind of route. Because I have yet to meet a guy who's given up on women completely, who's really successful at the rest of their life. I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't met many of them at all.
Let's go back and unpack this for a second. So you said before that you got the girl of your dreams, and she was the hottest one from Yang. And then when you got her, you didn't have the mind right, and you lost her. Like, how long did this situation last? And what was the breaking point for you? Like, let's talk about that. What was the turning point where you felt like you were losing control, and that the game that you learned was like, okay, I'm grabbing for air. Like, this ain't working no more. Like, what was the
Gotcha. So we met in the BDSM scene. This is my second wife. We were married. We were together about 6.5 years total. Yeah, about that. A little over 6.5 years. And my game was good enough to get her initially, right? Took a while for me to get her to sleep with me, which should have been a flag and wasn't. Like 2 months.
Oh, okay.
And we were doing other stuff, right? Because whenever you're in the BDSM scene, the lines between like sex and play and everything else get kind of blurry, right? If she's naked and tied up and getting vibrated to hell, and like that's not really penetrative sex, right? I'm not actually fucking her, but at the same time, that's really goddamn close, and most likely would get me shot by a jealous boyfriend. So lines get kind of blurry in that space, right? But didn't actually have sex like fuck for about 2 months, I think, after we started seeing each other. And a lot of that was her reticence because I was a lot older than she was expecting, right? I wasn't the guy she expected to meet in the scene. And that was always kind of a problem. But I think what became apparent to me over time was that I had not fixed a lot of my scarcity mentality. I had not really become truly comfortable with being a dominant. And because I didn't meet the picture she had in her head of the guy she was supposed to be with, she never really like stepped into my frame. She's always kind of half in and half out. And I put up with that for way too long, like way too long before I started calling her out on it. And I think we've been married for about a year before I started doing that, when I was realizing like my needs were not getting met. Like I was not getting what I needed out of the relationship. She was not playing ball. She was not following through on the things that she was supposed to. Things got better for a while, and then they got much, much worse until eventually one day I said, look, we had a big fight after I got back from a trip from overseas. I was gone for about 3-4 weeks, and got back. And the second I walked through the door, we basically had a big ass fight. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. You need to unfuck your shit. And like, you need to get on board, or you need to get out. And let her do her thing for about a month. And she was great for the first week or two. And after that, it became apparent that she was not following through once again. So I sat her down. I'm like, all right, make your choice. And she said, she told me that she could not be the woman that I needed her to be. And honestly, fair enough. If she can't, then so be it. In which case, there's the door. And I think that just broke her, because I don't think she was expecting me to actually send her on her way.
Right. I will say this. It's way better doing the breaking up.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, man, like I decided a long time ago, during my first divorce, actually, that I'd much rather be alone than spend the rest of my life miserable with somebody who couldn't give me the things that I needed in life. Right? Wow. Because I've always been, like I said, I grew up with a nice guy, right? My folks are still together. They're going to be celebrating 50 years, their 50-year anniversary in 2022. right? They
Right.
grew up in small town Kansas, right? They were high school sweethearts, got married when my dad was in college. Like, it's the story. That's the world that I come from. Right? I don't come from a world where everybody's out clubbing and partying and fucking yachts and Lambos and everything else. That's not the world I come from. I come from Kansas. It was 330,000 people in my hometown, right? Not exactly what you would call, the big city by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I would much rather, so I always came from a mindset of you are the guy that gives, My dad was always the guy that put his foot down in the end. It was always the head of the household, but he let mom run the place 9 times out of 10. Whatever she wanted, usually she got, right? And that's kind of how you kept the peace. So that was the model I grew up with. And I realized after my first marriage that I can do that as long as I'm getting enough in return. I can be infinitely patient with somebody who's trying. Everybody's got challenges in life, right? Everybody's got stuff they're working their way through. And as long as you're making an honest effort to actually do the things you say you want to do, as long as you're making an actual effort to fix your stuff, I got lots of patience. But as soon as you don't, them scales got to balance in a hurry.
Facts.
Right.
I got a good question, but I want to get my man Nelly's question before it moves up, and then I can't find it. Mm-hmm. He says, "What helped you with changing your mindset after your divorce?" Y'all gotta super chat these questions. It's just squad. That's different. My homeboy is struggling with that along with alcoholism. So yeah, how'd you change your mindset after that? What up, CJ?
So I was very fortunate in a couple of ways. Number one, my second wife and I were not monogamous. So while things were going downhill for her and I was seeing another girl on the side. And she knew about it. Like she knew that I was dating this other girl on the side, and this other girl was giving me a lot of the things that I wasn't getting in my marriage, right? All the love and the affection and the attention and all the domestic stuff, right? Yeah. So that actually made it a lot easier for me to exit the marriage because I knew that stuff was possible, right? I knew that I could get that, right? Because I was already getting it. Now, once I left the marriage, the other girl and I kind of parted ways because I was a little bit on the needy side after exiting, right? And also she was seeing like 5 other guys at a time because that's the BDSM world, that's the poly world. And there was no way I was going to be able to get enough time from her, right? So I could not put her first. I couldn't be in a situation where I was seeing her and she was seeing a bunch of other guys if I didn't have anybody for myself, right? Because that would essentially be me putting her first in my life while being like 5th or 6th on her list. And like, that's not happening. Right.
Hey, real quick, that's one of the biggest mistakes. And I know women in the chat aren't going to agree with me, and that's fine because I know from experience and other brothers' experiences that this isn't the case. If you make a woman your life, it's a loss, bro. And you guys are going to say, that ain't true. I want you to. When dudes make you your number one, you don't like it. Trust me. Look,
they do not. Kansas.
Right, white guy from Kansas, a black guy from Oakland. We saying the same thing. Women will argue with this, but just check your history. When guys be like, "You're the best," where are you? How'd you sleep? How's your day? How's your makeup? Did you put it on correctly? It sounds cool. Yeah. Like, did you see that Steve Harvey thing? When he's like, the Steve Harvey interviewed this little 6-year-old boy. So he's a 6-year-old boy and his mama. I'm gonna try to pull it up. Matter of fact, he's like, I'm gonna try to pull it up. He's like, what would you do? Something like, I'm gonna pull it up for you. So since you never seen it, you're gonna laugh.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna just pull this up because you never.
Let me finish this up because his question is really, really good. I want to make sure he gets his good answer. So for me, it was a little bit easy because I had that support while I was going through it, and about a month after my second wife and I separated, like. I had another girl who I met that we started dating pretty much right away. She was an Indian girl, so she was raised traditionally. So she's got a lot of that, very nurturing, very caring energy. And she had just gotten out of a relationship that was like 5 years long where she was with this, really, really submissive, really beta guy who'd had nothing going on. And then she runs into me, who was unabashedly dominant at the time and really, really loved sex. And she thought that she was asexual until she ran into me. We ended up going on it for like 3 hours, our first date, which was phenomenal, right? So I had a lot of support right after my marriage in terms of getting in the things that I needed to kind of help myself heal. I don't recommend people do that. As well as it worked out for me in that short term, it's not the healthiest way to get through things. It worked a little bit better for me because I was in a non-monogamous world to begin with. So I wasn't going to get trapped in a relationship, right? I wasn't going to jump from one person to another and just get trapped in that cycle because I always had other stuff going on. The way that I would say most men should deal with the pain of a divorce is to take a few months off, take 3 to 6 months away from women and just focus on all the things you haven't been doing throughout your life or throughout your marriage. Because there were a lot of things I let go of. There's a lot of things I set aside while I was married that I loved, like doing martial arts, like gaming, and like half a dozen other things, right? Going to the gym. I let all that stuff slide. I took that stuff off the table in order to be able to spend more time on my relationship, more time with my wife, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. I'm supposed to put your relationship first. Mm-hmm. So just spend 3 to 6 months just getting back to who you actually are, the things you truly love in life, the things that truly fill your cup. Do that. Spend time hanging out with guys, right? The problem with alcoholism, man, that's a tough one because the purpose of alcohol is to numb the fucking pain. And when you've spent, like I did, like 6.5, 7 years living with somebody, being in a house alone for the first time in like 7 years is kind of freaking scary. Like being alone with your own thoughts by yourself for the first time in a long time is really kind of scary. And for me, the solution to that was alcohol as well. Like I have been drinking since I was about 12 because I grew up Catholic, right? So I was bartending 12 years old for family functions. So alcohol has always been a part of my life. You know, it's never been a problem per se. Never got to the point where it's like interfering with my relationships, interfering with my work, anything like that. But it definitely got to a point, like after I got divorced that second time, where I was having 2 or 3 drinks a night of like scotch, right? And then like 7, 8 a day during the weekend. Enough to where it became pretty freaking noticeable, right? And the reason why was because I didn't have enough going on in my life to distract me from the pain or to manage the loneliness that I was feeling. So the tips that I would give to guys who are going through divorce is to, number one, spend 3 to 6 months just getting back to who you are. And number two, get something going on in your life. Stay busy. Stay busy for those first few months, especially because it's going to help distract you from the loneliness and the just having to be with yourself. And then once you've got yourself on kind of steady feet, then go ahead and slow down and spend some time with yourself. Because part of the problem that guys have is that once we get into the pattern of having relationships and having women in our life to kind of make it so that we have to be lonely, we don't have to be by ourselves. It's really tough to do. It's really tough to do. But if you sit down and get comfortable again with who you are on your own, all of a sudden, all the pressure about finding another woman, all the pressure about all the other stuff in your life goes away. Because you're not having to distract yourself from being alone with yourself.
That's real talk. Shout out to Player for Life for the super chat. He says, divorce is a restart on life. Yeah, man. I can only imagine going through divorce because I done been through some, and even the power of the mind, right? Because I remember I went through a particular breakup and shit, and I was having a gang of chicks doing all kind of sexual things. And then after I finished, I think about her.
Yep.
And so it's like, man, it'd be cool for that moment. I'm doing this. I'm saying, like, soon as it's over, I wonder what she doing.
Yep. Oh, and it was worse for me because, like I said, we were in the BDSM scene, right? So here's this hot, late 20-something blonde girl who is newly single in an environment where all these guys have been chasing her literally for years. So a couple of weeks after we separate, she's going to swingers parties and stuff like that. And because we're running the same circles, I'm seeing the photos on, FetLife, which is basically like kinky Facebook, right? So to have that shit in my face, it's not this, I wonder what she's doing. No, I'm seeing pictures of her like fucking hanging from the ceiling naked, right? Very different circumstance. Was not fun. I actually had to like block her on various social media sites just so I didn't have that stuff in my face, right? But what Player for Life said there, as far as divorce being a reset, he's right and he's wrong. I actually think I leveled up every single time I divorced. Both times, because both times was very much me putting my foot down, establishing boundaries, standing up for myself in a way I hadn't for a long time, and not only getting back to my old self, but leveling up. Every single situation, every single relationship I've left, 6 months later, I was better than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in better shape now than I was when I was married to my second wife. I was having more fun, more sex, more successful after I left my first wife than I was with her.
Mm-hmm.
After leaving my long-term relationship last year, better than ever. I found a girl half her age who was even hotter, right? Like, my second wife now is 31, 32 years old. And the girl I've been seeing for a year is 23.
Mm-hmm.
The other girl I'm seeing this week is 26, right? So every single woman that I've been seeing since I've divorced my second wife has been younger than her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing much better because I'm handling my shit, because I made the deliberate effort to take a look at what was going wrong, improve my life, fix that stuff, level the hell up, and get on my back on my purpose better than before. Guys will do that. Women often don't. Women will avoid accountability for the stuff they do. Women will avoid taking a look at themselves. Women will go eat, pray, love, but they will never actually sit down and fix the shit that got them there in the first place because they don't want to face it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for McCain for the super chat. He said, appreciate your insight. That's what's
You're
up.
welcome, brother.
I see what, let me see. Trav said something. I'm glad I started checking you out more. I'm glad you start checking me out more too, Rain and Woman.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make sure you hit that subscription. But you know what? This whole time, Ryan, we've been on, I haven't got the notification that I'm live this whole time.
That's why you got to click that notification bell that says give me all notifications, because if you just leave it on the default, it's
on
personalized.
46 minutes because you know when you go live, you get the email notifications across. Like I think,
yep.
Up until now, it still hasn't happened.
Oh, I got it right away, but I got the bell. I got the bell clicked for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Got to make sure you get that bell clicked.
Yeah, man. You think it's sometimes no bell means never.
Yes. Yeah, well, exactly, because the way the YouTube algorithm works, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but once you start something, it's only going to send notifications out to a few of your subscribers. And then if they click and they start watching, they say, okay, this actually has something, so let's send the notifications out to more of them, and then more, than more. But that's if you've got the default bell, like you haven't clicked it and hit all as opposed to personalized, because personalized just means that YouTube gets to decide what you see and when. So hit that bell, make sure you actually get all the notifications so you see all of Afi's podcasts and mine as well.
That's what's up.
I'll go ahead and
make sure y'all subscribe to Ryan. Travis said he may need your services. He also has a question. He says, what's the process of hypnosis with helping men in anger issues and trust issues?
So let me go ahead and walk you through kind of how I view hypnosis and how I use it to help guys out. So for me, there's my YouTube channel, guys, in the chat. Just go ahead and click on that, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I will be putting out a lot more content. I've had getting rid of my full-time job. I had surgery recently, so I'm getting back into the swing of things. But to answer your question, Travis, essentially hypnosis, let me back up a little bit. A lot of things we do that screw us up are things that are happening automatically in the back of our head. Patterns of behavior, habits we've had for ages that we just don't go back and look at again. Things we really can't see because our unconscious mind won't show it to us because it's trying to protect us, okay? There's a psychologist by the name of Brett Steenbarger up in New York. He's got this saying that says, today's problems are caused by yesterday's solutions. And in a lot of ways, what that means is that the things that are in your way now are solutions to problems in the past, right? There are things that we put in place. There's manners of coping with things that we put in place a long time ago to deal with situations early in our life. So if we got issues with anger was a tool that we used to get over some shit previously, whether that was to defend ourselves, whether that was to get attention, right? Whatever that might happen to be. But anger became a tool that we used in certain situations. Well, over time, those situations go away, but that pattern of behavior remains. And now this is the thing that's in your way. Same thing happens with things like trust issues, right? Trust issues are basically just a protective mechanism to make sure you don't get hurt again. If you don't connect with anybody else, If you can't open up, if you can never be vulnerable, then you can never get hurt. Or at least that's the theory. Because let's be honest, the pain of not being connected, the pain of being alone, the pain of never being able to open up is actually worse than that of getting hurt. But on that very, very primal level, that initial pain that we feel getting hurt in a relationship, being betrayed, having our trust violated in whatever way, is so much more sharp and immediate than this theoretical pain of not having a connection down the road, right? So our mind reacts to that, and it builds this protective mechanism of not allowing us to trust other people, not allowing us to be vulnerable, right? So solution to an old problem that becomes today's problem, right? With hypnosis, the entire thing that makes it so unique is that it allows us to build that bridge into the unconscious mind, actually get back into the back of our minds where all that stuff is sitting, right? Which means that not only can we go back there, but we can ask that, what problem are you trying to solve? So we can actually see what the heck you're doing this for. Not just say, oh, you're not going to be angry anymore. Oh, you can go ahead and trust people, but actually figure out, okay, why are you not trusting people? Why are you so angry? Why have these tools become the ones that you reach for in various situations? And if that's the case, then we can sit down and say, okay, now we can take all this new perspective, all this new knowledge we have from all the years from then till now, all the knowledge that I've had through coaching clients, through my own life, through all of my own damn mistakes, right? Back to those old situations. And we can tell new stories. We can reframe them. We can build a new narrative around those old events. Because it's not the things that happen, it's the stories that we tell. Walking up to a woman and getting rejected can mean that you're terrible, that you're horrible, that you're worthless, that you're never going to be loved ever again. Or it can mean, obviously she's crazy, obviously she's blind about how awesome I am, her loss. Same event, same outcome, two very different perceptions and two very different stories you tell. And depending upon which story you tell, your life is going to go down very different roads, right? So if we can go back and tell different stories about the old events, then you can live life in a different way, right? Because we've changed the meaning of those events. We're giving you a new solution to the old problem, right? So if we solve that old problem of being hurt, of having your trust betrayed, by showing that you've got better discernment, right? You have better judge of character, right? Oh, and by the way, you can survive that stuff, right? Doesn't really hurt that bad. You're just fine. You can live life regardless, right? And oh, by the way, you want people in your life, and that's actually hurting you more not having them in your life. You get to live your life in a different way. And because we're doing that in hypnosis, where it's happening in the back of your head, where all that stuff is sitting, it actually sticks. It actually changes the way you move through life. It's kind of like doing therapy, but on speed, right? So I get to buy 6 months of rapport by getting you in hypnosis, and get to you do a year or two's worth of work in an hour. Right? Instead of going to a session every week and talking through and laying down and talking about your mother on the couch, right? We actually get back, figure out what the actual problem is in a really quick way, and fix it in a very quick way as well.
It's more of my
that makes
ego
sense?
making the. He says more of his ego making
the problem. Yeah, sure. Like absolutely. That's absolutely a trick that we'll do. There's a lot of guys that come to me with a problem that they're just like not letting themselves succeed, right? They've got this business idea that they can see, and it's like, man, they know they've got the skills, they know they got the talent, but they just can't do the things they need to do it. And basically, your unconscious mind is freaking brilliant at finding ways to screw with you, to not let you do the things it doesn't want to let you do. If it doesn't think you deserve it, it's not going to let you do it. So your ego making problems a problem, that's how your unconscious mind is keeping you from doing whatever, whether that's going and approaching women, whether that's going and making friends, whether that's being successful in business, whatever it happens to be. Just drop me an email here. I'll give you my email address, and we'll set something up. There you go, man. Just reach out.
He said, can you unlike your mind by yourself?
Yes, but it's a lot more difficult. The problem is that in hypnosis, we have a concept called the critical factor. Critical meaning like critiquing or like deciding one way or the other. And it's sort of a barrier between your conscious and your unconscious mind. All right. And what that means is that your unconscious mind will simply refuse to accept anything that is too different from what it already believes. It also means that your unconscious mind is not going to show your conscious mind things that it doesn't think that your conscious mind wants to see. So if you've spent 10, 15, 20 years hiding from X or trying to protect yourself from being hurt, then what that means is that your unconscious mind is fundamentally not going to show you the things that it thinks is going to hurt you. So sitting there and trying to figure out what's going on your own can be incredibly difficult because you're essentially trying to get your conscious mind to break through that wall. Not easy. Now, can you do that through hypnosis on your own? Difficult. You can go ahead and do hypnosis recordings where you sit down and you get yourself in hypnosis and you give yourself various affirmations while you're in hypnosis, and that can have a significant effect, right? That's essentially self-hypnosis. And you can do some good things with that. In my experience, you have to do that repeatedly for a significant period of time for that to really have the effect. Telling yourself you're awesome while in hypnosis is going to have a more profound effect on the unconscious because you're in hypnosis, right? You've already crossed that critical threshold, that critical factor. You bypassed it, right? As opposed to saying it in the mirror. But you still have to repeat it because you're trying to change the unconscious mind through just brute force and brute repetition. In my experience, it's better and faster to go in and figure out what the problem is. I don't know how to do that on your own with hypnosis because you're essentially trying to get your mind to do a conscious function while in hypnosis where your unconscious is actually in control. So that's where I actually go and I talk to hypnotists myself. I've got a couple guys I know that are good hypnotists that I'll go to with issues that I need addressed. So when I ran into a wall that I can't get myself around, I'll go to them and say, all right, here's the wall. This is what I think it's all about. Let's go. And they'll drop me in hypnosis. We'll do the work, bring me back out, and off I go to the races, right? It happens. It's quick. It's fast. It's usually incredibly effective. Different hypnotists have different techniques they use. The one I use leverages my natural skill set, right? And is built for rapid change. But there's some things it's not the greatest at. There's guys that I have that come to me with a lot of anxiety where they're anxious like all the freaking time. And it's difficult to help them in a single session. That's the sort of thing where you need that sort of repeated message over time to get them to like slowly ratchet down that anxiety to a point where you can start doing that rapid change, right? Same thing happens with guys that have like PTSD, for example, to where you've got to slowly ratchet that down to the point where it's under control enough that you can then do that rapid shift, right?
Hey, let's get into this BDSM.
Okay.
I just bought Troy. He just did a shout out to Troy Francis. That's why you posting the stories. He posting the stories. I bought 2 books.
Yes, indeed. His stuff is good, man. His stuff is good.
So I just bought him the part 1 and 2. What is it? 40 Shades of Game. I like that.
50 Shades of Game. Yep.
Yeah.
50 Shades of Game.
I bought the 1 and the 2 one.
Oh, they're good. They're good read. They're a very good read.
Yeah. Show y'all appreciation and hit the super chat. So tell these people, I know what it is, but tell these people what BDMS is, because sometimes they be thinking they know and they scared to ask.
Sure. So BDSM is actually 3 different acronyms. It stands for bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and sadism and masochism. Right. So bondage and discipline is revolving around like tying people up, tying them to the chair. Right. It's the the whole spankings, all that kind of jazz. Like, you've been another girl, I'm going to spank you kind of deal. Right. DS is much more a mental control game where there is an explicit power dynamic where the dominant is on top. He's calling the shots. He's making the rules. The submissive is on the bottom, and they are following the rules, whatever those happen to be. And it's playing with that explicit surrender of power. S&M, sadism, and masochism is very much playing with that extreme bit of pain, right? Where you're doing kind of crazy shit. I'm not going to go there today because that's not really my bag. I tend to be much more in the bondage and discipline and the DS side of things, right? I love being able to do like really heavy impact scenes where I'm just like beating the hell out of somebody. I love doing pressure points. I love doing pain control things where I'm manipulating somebody's body and putting them where I want them to be through finesse, through pressure, through pain, and watching them surrender through that. I also love taking people to a very different mental space, places they can't go on their own. One of the things that I love about being in a DS relationship is that as the dominant, I get to actually change people's lives for the better in a lot of ways. So one thing that a lot of people don't understand, a lot of bottoms, a lot of people are submissive. they have a hard time forgiving themselves for the stuff. They take stuff really, really personally, right? I was talking about this on Sterling's podcast where, like, every time my girl comes over, you know, after we get back into a normal space, once we bonded and reconnected and everything, she gets a spanking. Now, normally it's a good girl spanking where it's not really hard. It's much more just for the fun, just to kind of put her back into space, right? But it's also so that that physical sensation allows her to let go of any guilt or shame that she's built up over time, because you're absolving her of those things. She's taking a punishment. So now that she's been punished with the thing, she can let that go. She doesn't have to hold that on inside. It's the imposition of external constraints and external rules so that they can let go of their internal inhibitions, which means you can do all kinds of really cool things. They can let themselves experiment and play with things that they otherwise would not do because they have somebody else taking that control and taking responsibility for the outcomes of those events.
All right, I'm trying now. My mind is. I'm trying to see how I can incorporate this in real time in my game. So okay, so
Yep.
how? Okay, so how would I get a chick? Okay, so we're gonna be honest, and we want to incorporate the whipping into it. How could I flip that? So boom, let me see. I got a chick. This is real. See, y'all getting real time reaction. This is how I do privately when y'all just getting the witnesses because I'm for real. Like, and that's like the part of the game. Like, you guys need to be getting game from everywhere. You think shit don't apply to you. Like, if you say for instance, you may see the title of this and it says the power of the mind, and you're going to on a breakup, but you're going to skip this video and go through a breakup video when this one is the most powerful one. So get game from everyone, just like I'm about to get right now. So I'm trying to figure this out. So how can
here's the way you can introduce that, right? So for one thing, when I'm on a date with a girl and she's asking, I'll drop the fact that I've been in the BDSM scene for like 16 years, right? And all the girls have been hearing about like 50 Shades of Grey, right? So the concept of that is out there in the world, right? 365 days on Netflix being like this massive thing, right? All about BDSM. It wasn't, but whatever. That's what they think, right? So every single girl at least knows what that is. So when you just drop that in the conversation of, oh, this is something I've been doing for a long time, their ears perk up. And so all those little fantasies they've had, all those little things that they've been thinking of because they've read the books or they've heard people talking about the books, right? Or they spent way too much time like reading, was that freaking vampire stuff, right? With the sparkling vampires. I don't remember what the hell that is. Twilight. Thank you. Yeah. The Twilight series, right? All the girls know about this stuff. So once you drop into the conversation that you're familiar with this and you've done this, you've actually been there, that gets a curiosity going, right? She's going to let you know very quickly whether or not that's something that she's into or something that she's not. And you can often tell very quickly based on how she reacts to you dropping that kind of knowledge into the conversation. Her body language is going to change one way or the other, right? If she closes off and gets very withdrawn, that's not something you guys are doing, at least not from the start. If she's kind of taken aback, but she's still sticking around, still excited, you're in, right? So once you get back to your place and you happen to have a few things laying around, then you can take her on a tour of the toy bag of here's the panoply of different things that I have, and here's all the ways that they can be used. And would you like to try this? And would you like to try this? And how about this? We can save this one for next time, right? You essentially lay it out as a smorgasbord of options that she gets to choose from. You're laying out, you're previewing a number of experiences that she gets to try with you. All these new experiences, all these new feelings, all these new emotions that she gets to experience with you. As long as she steps into your frame, as long as she steps into your world.
Fire. Now watch this. Now, I'm telling you guys in the chat, this is why I be roasting you guys. Because you guys watch videos every single day and be entertained, but don't learn shit. Now, I'm going to show you how you're supposed to learn shit. Ryan talked to me for 5 minutes, and I got about 500 joules. Now, watch me repeat. I'm going to repeat back to you how I can run the game just from listening to you. My shit went zip, zip, zip. So, boom. So, this is how you do it. So you can do it an honest way, or you can do it a not honest way. A not honest way would say, for me to say, that's been my thing. Drop it off to her. See how she responds to it. Boom. We can introduce that kind of porn. and I can watch her to see how she responds to that. Regardless of what she told me, I get to watch and see how she reacts to it. So that's the one way. Or I can, be like, boom. Okay, so let's try something new together. Since we're together, we're gonna have this experience together. Are you with that? Before even the experience happens, I can get confirmation. Are you with that? She doesn't want to deny it, so she's either going to say yeah or what is it. By her saying what is it, it's going to build up the anticipation for what it. This is fire game for what it actually is. Boom. See, y'all. I just learned this from him saying that. I didn't know this. So then, boom. So
well, here's
really into it, right? So then, after she's really into it, and I drop it on her, I get to test how she responds to it, and then I can kind of gear my approach if I want to go aggressive, if she's with it. If she's kind of with it, I want to tiptoe around it and just tag and get and expose her to it, to where even though I'm the one introduced her, she's actually introducing it to herself because I sparked her interest. Boom, it's fire. I'm a genius, you niggas in the chat.
You're pretty damn smart. Pretty damn smart. I'll tell you that. Though I'll tell you a couple of things. One thing that I often do is I won't bring the BDSM elements into things until we've already been seeing each other a few times. For a couple of different reasons. Number one, if you give them too much too soon, then they burn out too quick. Right? But the other thing is that you can plant that seed and then date. You get them back to your place and you just be your normal dominant self in bed. Maybe a little bit extra rough, maybe a little bit extra force, right? So they can really feel that dominance. They can know that you got this stuff for real. So you planted that seed. You give them a taste what sex feels like with a dominant man who knows what he's doing. And then over the next few times, you start incorporating stuff like spanking. You pull his hair more. You maybe get your hand on her throat a couple times, right? You start going up that escalation ladder.
You're the teacher right now. Let me raise my hand real quick. Boom.
Yep.
It's super imperative to give her options, that way she feels like she has control too.
Yes.
Instead of just saying, this is what we doing. This paddle, I'm gonna be whooping your ass tonight. Like, no,
exactly.
Either I'm gonna whoop your ass, choke your ass, or hang your ass. Which one you want?
You get to choose. It's choose your own adventure, right? But that's the thing, is you essentially, especially with girls that have no experience in that world, they're usually incredibly, incredibly afraid of going there, because they know that once they do, they're incredibly vulnerable. So you have to have that trust first. They have to believe that that they are in good hands, that you're going to take care of them while they're in that space, right? Mm-hmm. What this means is that you need to ramp that up a little bit slowly. Now, once you've given her a taste of a few things, then guys can go off the deep end. But that's once she's given you the agreement that she wants to do that with you. Right? So you give her a couple tastes along the way, you ramp things up a little bit, and then when she's ready to take the plunge, over the edge you go, right? Go over the cliff.
Real talk. So, since you're into that, is regular sex like out? Like, will you just pass up on the missionary? Like, hell no, that's boring. I don't want to do it.
No. Because for me, like, sex and kink are actually two different kinds of things. Like, I'm not necessarily the most normal guy in the BDSM scene that way, but they are kind of different spaces for me. The BDSM, the dominance and submission piece of it, like the bondage and discipline thing, where I'm doing like heavy impact, where I'm breaking out the knives, where I'm doing pressure points, where I'm doing the body manipulation stuff with pain and things like that. I'm using that to create a specific space for her. I'm using it to cut loose certain parts of my own psyche that I don't get to play with much. And those are things that I want to do in a kind of controlled way, that I'm not mixing it with other things, right? Now, when I'm doing sex, I am doing things like grabbing her hair. It's very dominant. It's very rough, 9 times out of 10, right? I'm grabbing her by the throat. I'm fucking her really hard. I'm hitting all the right spots. I'm tossing her around like a rag doll. That's just normal sex for me, right? I don't consider that BDSM. I just consider that like normal sex that a dominant guy who knows what the hell he's doing is going to do. That's just Tuesday, right? But whenever you're talking about the BDSM stuff, where you're talking about tying people up and things like that, that's a very different headspace for me. It's almost like a shamanic thing in a lot of ways, where it's taking somebody, throwing them down the rabbit hole, and diving in after them to follow the journey, right? It's going on the road with them, right? It's creating a space together and creating a event together, an experience together, kind of like a dance in a lot of ways. And that kind of creative space, I need to be focused on that and focused on her rather than focused on myself and my own pleasure. Because the thing is that if you're doing sex right, then you actually have to be kind of selfish and focus on your own pleasure enough to actually be able to get off. That's kind of why I'm not a big fan of orgies. I get a little bit too ADD and I can't focus on me enough to actually get off, which can be really annoying when everybody's fucking all around you and you're the only guy that can't come. But that's a different story.
Hey, I want to talk about, you heard what, hey, I'm going to get you back now. It's time to get them back now. You made me tell that embarrassing story. I want to hear about your first orgy.
My first orgy? Well, there's got to be a $20 super chat in it, right?
There you go. A $20 super chat for the first orgy. I didn't want to tell, I really didn't want to. I know you see it on my face. I was really
You set the price too low. That is not my fault. You did that to yourself.
Yeah. That was an exclusive. I never told that one before. And I tell stories. I had left that one out of it, though. That was a funny fucking shit, man.
Yeah, well, do you want the embarrassing story? Do you want the first orgy story? Or there's the best breakup story. I can tell you that one.
Let's do the breakup one.
The breakup story? Okay. $20 super chat. I will tell you the best breakup story.
No, the breakup story was free. The orgy one is for the 20.
This was like, oh, she
that bad?
Now you're changing the rules on me. Okay, all right.
Is that bad?
No, I didn't say it was bad. I said it was a great story. I didn't say it was bad at all. So, all right, here's the breakup story. All right. So, this was like what, 10 years ago, I think 10, 11 years ago. So I met this girl on the scene and we started dating and like we had ridiculous sexual chemistry, 1999, you're a penny short, man. Penny short. That's all right. We'll give it to you. I'll tell you that one next. So we had just like ridiculous sexual chemistry. We were like going at it like 2 or 3 times a day for like 8 or 9 months straight. Right. We go to this one BDSM camp, which is like a 3 or 4 day long BDSM event off at a campground with like 1,000 kinky people at a time. Fabulous fun, but she broke some rules. So after we got back, we had a discussion. I'm like, you broke the rules and you either got to make up for it, you got to take your punishment, or you're out the door. And she told me, it's like, look, I've been thinking about breaking up with you for a while. Like, I think that's the option I'm going to choose, which kind of hurt, but fair enough. Right. We really didn't have a whole lot of compatibility aside from the sexual stuff anyway. And that kind of became obvious. Right. This is about a couple weeks before my birthday and a couple weeks before I had to ship out to Afghanistan again for about 3 months. And a couple weeks before another BDSM event that we're going to be going to, that was going to be like a weekend long thing. Right. So we're like, all right, cool. So party gives friends. Fair enough. Let's just go ahead and stick together because she was living with me at the time. It's like, we'll just wait until after I'm heading off to Afghanistan. And while I'm gone, just go ahead and move out and call it a day. Right. So we're at this BDSM event. We're both having a good time, kind of doing our own thing. Saturday evening, she comes and she grabs me and says, hey, Ryan, come with me. I got something I want to show you. I'm like, all right, cool. So she leads me back in this back room where there's this big old bed and there's 3 of her 20 something friends all dressed up in like hot ass lingerie on the bed. And she's like, happy birthday, baby. You can do whatever you want. So I did. So had sex with all 4 of them for about 2 hours, which is a lot to juggle. It is kind of difficult to try and entertain 4 women at the same time if you're the only guy involved.
Yeah, especially if they're not bisexual.
They were, some of them were, but still, like that was very much a secondary thing for them. So they weren't really playing with each other much. So I had to juggle all of it myself. And by the time they were done, they're like, oh, wait, you haven't come yet? I'm like, no. So 4 girls, all to myself, 2 hours, couldn't get off because I was spending too much goddamn time focusing on them. That was probably the best and the worst kind of breakup story that you can have. A phenomenal go-away party, phenomenal going-away present, and I couldn't make the most of it. Such is life.
I had situations like that before too.
Yep. Yep.
I think we all have. We just be trying to act all player all the time. Like, shit. I be keeping it real with my shit. Like, fuck, whatever.
To be honest with you, being able to have sex with 4 women over the course of 2 hours all to yourself, like that's a win in and of itself. Even if you don't go pop, right? So, first orgy story. Oh man, where would that have been? Oh right, this was a good one. So, I'm at another kink event. Was that a year before or after? About a year after. and walking through the dungeon on a Saturday night, and there's this girl that I've been flirting with like all weekend, trying to get somewhere with her, just got nowhere. Turns out she was lesbian. Fair enough, right? But she walks up to me and she says, Mr. So-and-so told me to come play with you. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is a friend of mine that she had been playing with earlier in the evening. And so we sit there, we play, we have a great time. And she tells me about this orgy that they're throwing upstairs. So I'm like, sure, why not? So go upstairs, go to the room, and there's probably like 25, 30 people in the room. Everybody's kind of having sex, getting naked, and having a good time. So strip her down, eat her out, finger her. She's squirting all over the place, having a great time. And we get a little bit of attention because she's a good-looking girl, I'm a good-looking guy, and we start getting other people kind of joining in. So I end up having sex with probably 2 or 3 other girls that night, which was a lot of fun. Again, I'm way too damn distracted to actually be able to focus on me, right? So I couldn't get off during the orgy. And at the end of the night, she comes back to my room, but of course she's lesbian. So still not getting off that night. She does what she can, man, but she's gay. She's not going to have sex with me. Not going to take the D. So like, it's kind of hard for me to get off, but
yeah,
was what it was. We ended up dating for like 3 months though. She ended up being like my own little lesbian sex slave for like 3 months before she moved away to Arizona to get her doctorate in like environmental microbiology or whatever. So it was a good time though. Like it was a lot of fun being there and just like having all that sexual energy around you. Like you get kind of high on that, right? There's just so much like energy and everything's going on around you. It's just, you get pumped. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Not my scene, but it's a lot of fun.
Hey, real quick. It's a big difference between you guys nowadays. We talking about this semen retention. Semen retention is cool when you're doing it on purpose. It's not cool. It's not cool when it's just not happening. I remember my godbrother, I was probably about 25, right? They had this thing in the Bay Area. You Bay Area cats probably know. It's called Skin is In. So basically, it's like the bad chicks, all these little model chicks and wannabe model chicks. They do all this fashion shit. And so that was the first time he had gave me an ecstasy pill, right? So that ecstasy pill, popped this shit, and then it didn't really make me horny at all. It just made me chain smoke, and I was dead. I would never drink so much water in life, right? And at the time, I had a girlfriend, bro, and we had sex, and that shit just was going forever, and it was not fun. Like it's because it's like when you're having sex, you're going, then you get that feeling like, oh, it's getting really good. That never happened. So it's like
it can be frustrating.
Semen retention but when you don't bust a nut during sex, it's not a fun time. It's not. Oh, I did that shit for 3 hours. Like, yeah, but you didn't. That feeling don't come. You want to get the feeling to come and take it back, but when it never comes, it's not fun.
Well, I'll tell you, I got the opportunity to do a little work playing with like multiple orgasms for guys, right? To where you can actually have orgasms without coming, right? So you separate the orgasm from the ejaculation.
Unpack
and in theory, if you learn how to do this right, what's that?
I say unpack that. How does that work?
So basically, the orgasm response that you have, all those really good feelings, all that stuff, is actually different from the ejaculation response. Now, if you ejaculate, you go ahead and hit that reset button where you've got to go through that recovery cycle, right? That downtime you get, right? Get that big dump of prolactin in your system, your sex drive goes down for a while, right? But if you can separate the ejaculation response and the orgasm response through just like training, through hypnosis, through edging, and like the Zen Buddhists did this stuff all the time whenever they're doing their Zen Buddhist like tantric stuff, right? Once you can separate those things and you can have multiple orgasms as a guy, have that orgasmic response, have that great, amazing feeling without actually ejaculating. And if you do that, then you can have multiple of those. Like you can have sex for hours, have multiple orgasms, never actually ejaculate, and just stay hard as you want, and then go again however quickly you want.
Shout out to Harry. Shout out to Trav. He said, I think I do this. I get my body rushes during sex, sometimes without ejaculation.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. And you can actually train yourself to do that. God, there's what is the name of the book? I'll look up the book later on and drop it on Twitter. But yeah, there's a book that actually will teach you how to do that. You can learn that through hypnosis as well. You can teach women how to be like full body, multiple orgasms, like on command through hypnosis. You can do all You can do a lot of really cool stuff with hypnosis. Erotic hypnosis is a very, very different subject than just traditional therapeutic hypnosis.
How do you get cheated on if you can make girls come with on demand multiple times? Where else
Well,
they
number
gonna get
one,
touched from?
I didn't learn how to do that until recently.
Okay.
Number two, sex is not the only thing that women need.
Mhm.
And number three, if they can't lock you down, a lot of them will move on until they can find somebody who does, right? Like the girl I'm with right now is a great girl, but she's also conservative Indian. She's Sikh. She wants to get married. She wants to settle down. She wants to have kids. Those things are not happening with me, and I am not now nearly brown enough for her family to accept, right? So she's eventually going to have to move on and find somebody who is, right? Whenever she's ready, that's going to happen, and that's okay, because we both know the deal. We met on Tinder, for God's sakes. We weren't expecting to be together a year later.
Right.
That was kind of an accident, right? But a girl who's acting well, a girl who is investing, and a girl who can see how amazing you are and how valuable you are, will invest, even if you end up meeting on Tinder, right? So I'm not really worried about being able to retain women later on, because I know I can give them pretty much everything they need, right? I can give them those massive emotional highs. I can give them the really good sex. I can give them that up and down, that emotional roller coaster that they love, right? I can give them that immersion. I can take them into completely different worlds, even outside of hypnosis, right? And then you add the hypnosis piece in, where I can literally take them to different worlds. I can literally take them on a vacation to Hawaii in hypnosis without them leaving the chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
You add all that stuff together, and I can basically keep any girl that I choose. But you have to choose well, because you don't want the wrong girl addicted to you, right?
That's facts. Yeah, you definitely don't want the wrong girl. I didn't have my handful of that on multiple occasions, and it's a hard life when you got a woman stalking you, bro. Like,
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Ryan, guys think if you got game, you ain't got to worry about that. It's not true, bro.
No, if you have game, you worry about that more.
Yeah.
Because there is a higher odds that the women are going to want to keep you. Or there's a much higher odds that women are going to want to lock you down. There's much higher odds that women are going to do whatever they need to, whatever they can think of, to stay in your life for as long as humanly possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the more game you have, the more dangerous that is, right? Now, if you project like full on player, if you're projecting full on, pumping up, hit and quit kind of thing, where it's just straight casual all the time, and you never allow for anything more, then they're not going to stick around, right? But if I'm a daddy dom, right? I love being able to have people stick around. I love being able to get inside their heads. I love being able to do much deeper stuff, and you can't do that on a casual basis. Any situation when you're in where you're doing that kind of thing ends up being a relationship of one kind or another. And to be honest, I've always been kind of a relationship guy, so that fits fairly naturally with me, right? But that does mean that I have to watch out for how deeply these people invest, how deeply these girls get bonded to me. And I have to be very careful about how I manage that to make sure they don't bond too much in ways that I can't sustain for them, right? Because that's not only not healthy for me, it's not healthy for them either. And I'm not the kind of guy that gets off on breaking girls. I don't need fucking revenge. Right. I don't need that shit. That's not what I'm here for. I would much rather spend my time making their lives better and watch them walk out of the thing like loving the fact that they spent their time with me than hating the fact that they did, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have majority of my situations in pretty smooth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have people hating my guts. You know what I'm saying? And if I do, it was their fault. No, because you gotta do some stuff to bring that side out of me.
Yes indeed.
I don't just get bored and take it there. It has to be it has to be promoted for me to go there. You know what I'm saying? It don't just get there. Yep. So it's something about the women.
You gotta push them right buttons.
Like chill.
Yeah. Oh, I'm usually a fairly accommodating guy right up until I'm not. Right. When you push that button, when you put me in a position where I actually have to go there, that is not a fun time for anybody.
Right.
At all.
It's funny when you know yourself too. People think it's funny and stuff, and you like, all right, you okay?
You want to go there? Game on. Oh man, my second wife and I, we we are the perfect match. God, we were the perfect match. Our argument styles were 100% opposite and 100% designed to push the other person's buttons perfectly. Right. So I came up from a family where once the argument started, you weren't allowed to stop until it was done. So as soon as it was game on, it was game on until you were done. And that, if that meant you're up until 3:00 in the morning on a Wednesday, so be it. Right. But you don't leave the room. You don't fucking go to sleep angry. You sit there and you hammer it out until everything's done. My wife, on the other hand, was a very avoidant type, where anytime she was under that kind of pressure, she would essentially use whatever she could to hurt the other person to make them go away to get space.
Right.
Right. So I'm a fights on kind of guy. She's a stab you until you leave her alone kind of girl. So anytime anything would come up, she'd start bringing out the emotional needles, right? Bringing out the emotional knives and stabbing away. And I'd be like, you don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Oh, apparently you want to go there. Very well. Apparently it's fights on. And because I'm a you don't get to leave until we're done guy, that was just a bad situation, right? Bad situation all around. So if you want to have that fight, I am perfectly happy to. I've lived my entire life doing that. But I'd really rather not, because nothing ever actually gets resolved that way unless both people are willing to play the game on the same level.
Right. I think it's very important for people to know their partners. I feel like people don't really take the time to know their partners. They just feel like their partner should be a certain way. But if you take the time to know how to deal with this particular person, you can just get stratosphere results. But people don't take the time out for that. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that I learned from like teaching and stuff. And that's just how people are motivated so different. You cannot, like positive reinforcement is big, but that don't work for everybody. Some kids you gotta like really check or really, and just like some women you can't really. The best way to talk to them is to like listen first, or you got certain women who are sneaky as hell, and you got to confront them and be badass with them. And so it's like there's no one particular strategy. Women 101. I know, like in the sphere, we try to make it seem like there is, but at the same time, it's really like you got to really look at dating. You got to look at dating like Toys R Us, right? And then all the toys are different women. We got Barbie dolls, we got He-Man in there, we got bikes, we got Scrabble games. So even though it's all in the same thing, each thing has its own purpose in its own function to manipulate, right? Each thing is different. If I go into the bike angles, I'm gonna sit on it and I'm gonna, practice like this. If I go over to the action figures, I'm gonna look at it and compare and say I want. It's just different. So you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like the best thing to do is just like when you go into the stores and shit and you see the toys, what you do? You turn it around and you read the back. Right? And that'll give you details on how to deal with it. What's it going to say? Hazardous. Don't put this around water. You know what I'm saying? This is boom, boom, boom. Oh, this is for 5-year-olds. This is for 7-year-olds. See, you gotta look at the disclaimer with the people that you deal with. You don't try to brush off your shit and then get frustrated when people don't follow along with what you think. You know what I mean? Because it's like your fault. People are so different. Like I remember I had a situation, right? Shout out to Anthony Spade for the super chat. He said showing some support. Much love to you, brother. Much love to you, man. I see you going so crazy, much, doing them drops. I can't keep up with the 5s a day, bro. Stick to 2 or 3. making me feel like I ain't doing shit. Do I gotta drop 5 a day too? Anthony Spade. That's
apparently you do.
Here the wave gang. Well, no waves nowhere, but beer gang. But damn, what was I gonna say?
I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what, there's a couple different things about what you said that I want to highlight. Number one, it's recognizing that everybody is different, right? There's this tendency in like the pickup sphere and the game sphere to assume that like all women want this and all women work this way and like all women are hypergamous, so you got to treat them this way, right? And all women belong in the streets and yada 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 yada. If you're unwilling to recognize that the person sitting across from you is actually human and actually has their own individual characteristics and their own individual makeup, regardless of how, the overarching population level stuff goes, right? you still have to consider them on an individual level
Mm-hmm.
because they've manifested those things in their own unique way. And if you're not willing to adjust to that on that individual level and take a look at who they actually are and how they're actually working, you're never going to get the best results you can with that, whatever your objective happens to be, right? The second thing is you have to know yourself. You got to actually understand how you tick as well, right? So that you can understand what you need from a partnership and what you need in a situation so that you can actually communicate that to them. So they're not having to fucking try and guess, right? And last but not least, both people got to be in the dance if you're actually going to want to get those good results that you're looking for, right? Because if one person's really invested in the relationship and the other person's really invested in them, the person who's really invested in themselves is going to get the results they want. The other person's not. So you both got to be on the same page. Either you both have to be in it for yourselves, or you both have to be in it for each other, right? And you got to know which one's which. Got to be able to tell the difference.
Good stuff, man. Go follow Anthony Spade. He got the 5 drops a day. That man,
Oh man,
dropping like. See, and that's another thing like that. When I see that, it inspired me because he's sitting on like 80,000 subs. When you get to that point, you feel like I don't got to do that no more. But he's still.
No, that's when you really start going, man. That's when you really start going.
That's inspiration, man. And even, you know, like he's been doing skits and stuff like that. Like we always got to try different things, and you know, figure out different things that you get fulfillment out of, man. Like I'm really content with being me, and just that alone, just the fact that I'm content with being me, it helps me deal with situations and circumstances way better. You know what I'm saying? Because I just know how I had a situation just the other day, and I could have handled it in one way, but I had to just, you know, do things a certain way just to get some closure to myself. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just gotta figure out your own little situations too.
Yep. And that's a lifelong journey, right? You're always figuring out new stuff about yourself. You're always changing as the world changes around you, as you move through life, as you get more experience, right? Being comfortable with who you are, knowing who you are is a goddamn superpower. It really, really is. Because, man, you get to move through the world with much more deliberate action, right? You need to make deliberate choices. You get to actually get what you want out of life instead of what you expect everybody else thinks you're supposed to want, right? You get to live your own script in your own life as opposed to what everybody else says you should be doing, right? And what that does is, man, it means you actually get to get what you want out of life. You actually get to get the things that are going to make you happy and make you fulfilled, right?
What do you see as far as relationships that would make you content? Because you already kind of said like the one you got, it's a ceiling on that. So what would be your ideal situation? 1 girl, 2 girls, married again? Like, what do you think? Do you think that you're into the BDSM? Like, is it a phase, or do you think if you find somebody you like, you can just chill and be regular? Like, what's your take on all of that?
So I have been non-monogamous for 17, 18 years now. There's no going back from that. there's no going back from that. You don't do that for 18 years and then you suddenly one day say, oh, I'm just going to settle down and be a 1-woman guy. I'm sorry. Like I tried that for a year after like I got divorced, you know, I was still healing everything else. I didn't really look for anybody else during that time. And then once I got back to who I was, once I got back to my baseline stuff, I started realizing like, no, that's actually something I need. I need that variety. I don't necessarily need a lot. Like there was a point in my life when I was going to sex parties like every weekend, like 1 or 2 a weekend. That's probably more than I really need, but I need a little bit of variety, right? So at the same time, women can bring a lot to your world if you let them, right? Women can contribute and add a lot to your life if you let them. If they're a good person, if they're good people, if they actually have shit to contribute and you let them, they can add a lot to your life. There's a reason why Rollo Tomasi, Godfather himself, has been married for 24 freaking years, right? A guy like that doesn't do that unless there's something really there to add, okay? So fundamentally, I would love to have a woman by my side in a long-term relationship that I can count on, who helps me on my mission, right? Who adds value to my life, who is also open to me having stuff on the side, whether that's stuff we share, whether I do my own thing, either way. There's going to have to be a BDSM aspect to it. I'm never going to turn off the dominant side of myself. That's just not going to happen. I'm never going back, right? The flavor of that play can be different. I don't necessarily need to take out my heavy side on her. That may not be the smartest thing to do in a relationship, right? She doesn't have to be my punching bag. I can find another one, right? And the frequency of that, that's not necessarily an every day, every weekend, every month kind of thing. It's on an occasion thing these days, right? I went through my gluttony phase. I'm kind of done with that. I need it on occasion just to spice things up, just keep me being me, right? Mm-hmm. And it also comes down to the people I meet. So I think the biggest thing for me is when you're moving through life, you come across people that you just click with, right? That you got that instant like chemistry with, right? That you know there's something there. All you got to do is let yourself explore it. And if you're monogamous, the default answer is no, don't get to do that. I don't want to be in a position in my life where I have to say no right off the bat. I want to be able to see what's there, see if I actually want to incorporate that in my life and take it where I want to take it, right? But I do still want that girl by my side the whole time. How I put that together, that's an interesting question, but it's a question I think they'll be able to solve over the next few years. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. So did you have, when you were in a monogamous relationship, did you feel like you were suppressing some stuff, or was it just like, like for me, for instance, it's not just a sex thing. Like I don't see the thing like dealing with one woman is like this. Okay, so you dealing with one woman. If you guys are mad at each other, then you just gotta stick it until you decide to make. Like I don't like that kind of shit. So either you break up or you make up. Like every time, yeah. Like you know what I mean. Like so yeah, I don't like that.
So for me, this was really like during my first marriage. Even then, I was wanting to explore like BDSM and non-monogamy and swinging stuff, and she was not on board, so we didn't do anything, right? Ever since I separated from my first wife back in 2002, I've not been in a monogamous relationship since, right? Even this girl I met after my second divorce, she knew that I wasn't monogamous. She knew that I have had other partners. She knew that I was still seeing another girl at the same time. But for about a year, like I didn't really need that. I was doing some other work on myself. I was healing from the separation. I was healing from the divorce. I was doing all the work I needed to do to get back to who I was. And it wasn't until like 9 months or a year in when I started to realize like, no, there's a side of me that's not getting filled, right? There's a part of me that still needs that. There's a part of me that still needs that freedom, right? It's a security thing for me in a lot of ways, right? Because if I always have the option to get what I need elsewhere, then I can never be denied. I never have to go without. I never have to worry about whether my girl can meet those needs. Mm-hmm. If she can't, I can get them met elsewhere, right? And if I'm doing it in a openly non-monogamous way, right, where my girl knows that I can do this, that I will do this, that I want to do this, then I don't ever have to feel guilty for being that guy, right? I don't have to hide it. I don't have to deny who I am. I don't have to lie. I could just be me. This is who I am. This is what I want. This is how I'm living my life. You don't want it? Cool. Get that. Find somebody else.
Do you feel like it's natural to be with one person, or do you feel if it's your preference not to?
For me, I have always been interested in more than one person. Like as long as I can remember, even when I was like 11, 12, 13 years old and was like just learning about girls, even then I was always thinking about like the harem situation. Right, where I've got like one girl by my side and I got this other girls that I play around with. Like even back then, I was thinking along those lines.
Yeah, bro.
Right. My parents have been married for 50 fucking years almost. As far as I know, they haven't cheated on each other. My brother and his wife have been together for like 13, 14 years now. As far as I know, they've never cheated on each other. They've never really had those drives. My brother, I know, has had opportunities and chosen not to pursue them. Right. All props to him. I think everybody's built differently. I think that there is no relationship structure that works for everyone. Mm-hmm. That everyone has their own needs and their own limits of what they can handle and what they can manage, right? And you just have to find a relationship structure that actually allows you to get the things you want and has downsides that you can manage. Right. And I talked to this a lot more about this with Sterling Cooper during the interview I did with him back on Thursday, which is a fabulous one. You guys should go check that out. Check out Sterling Cooper's channel. He's doing some excellent interviews.
Yeah, check out Sterling Cooper. We just did a good video too. Interview.
Yes, he did. Yes, you guys did. You guys dropped some serious game. That was good stuff, man. But we definitely got into more of different relationship styles, different relationship structures, and kind of the pros and cons to them both, of them all, right? But you just got to find something that works for you. And for me, I think that non-monogamy is definitely it for me. I don't want to do the swinging thing necessarily again. I don't like having to fucking trade people all the time. I just hate that concept of feeling like I'm trading partners, right? That just feels shitty to me in a lot of different ways. I don't want to do the open polyamory thing because I don't need 7 girlfriends. I do not have time for that shit. I just need a bit of freedom. Need a little bit of space to be able to get some extra on the side. Need to be able to have that extra variety, have that comfort of being able to get my needs met wherever I need to meet them.
You know, we always talk about, like, you know, on one hand, you know, it's good to be honest, but then at the same time, I see why guys do what they do, and I'm talking about like there's situations where you can have an open situation where from the gate you're saying, okay, I like you, you like me, but we're gonna see other people. But for some women, that don't work. And not even that. It's like people don't understand. They think they understand. But when you're dealing with women and she knows you have other women, even the game that you have, the interaction is not the same as if she feels like that she's yours. You miss out on that. I'm talking, she can cook, she can clean, she can suck, she can cook for your boys.
Everything,
She can be excellent with cards and all wheeling and dealing shit. But if she knows that there's other options, you're not gonna get all of her. You know what I'm saying? So that's how come I think people kind of tally back.
I would disagree with that slightly.
Go ahead.
I would say that if she feels that she is first, if she knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that she's top girl, that she's bottom bitch, if you can make her feel that no matter what else you got going on, they're all second place to her. If you can make her feel like you're queen, while you got your little harem of concubines on the side, I think that usually works really, really well.
Yeah.
Because she's going to fight to keep that top space. She's going to fight to stay top dog.
True. But some girls had a one-on-one fantasy, though.
Sure. And if that's the case, good. I hope they find the guy that they can have that with. That's just not going to be me.
Yeah, man.
Right. And that's why I'd much rather be honest about that stuff. It's like, look, this is who I am. If you honestly can't accept who I am, fair enough. Cool. You need something different. I get it. I hope you find it. Happy to keep you entertained, keep you warm until you find it. But once you do, I expect you to move on your way because that's truly what you need. And I'm okay with that. Because if I have this attitude of this is who I am, if you want to be in my life long term, you have to accept who I am. Now, I'm perfectly happy to negotiate and figure out ways to make things easier on her, to make things more comfortable for her. Like, my girl does not want to know that I'm off seeing other girls. My girl does not want to hear about that shit. She don't want to see that shit. None of it. She would much rather pretend it doesn't exist.
Right.
So I don't throw it in her face. Right? There's some girls that want to be involved. Like Paul Benjamin from Apex Mindset. I don't know if you've gotten to talk with him yet, but you definitely should.
No, I just was he on Sterling's? I just seen him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was on Sterling's yesterday. Yeah.
I watched a few minutes of it. I was at work, I think. I was doing something. I checked some of it out.
Go watch it again. Go watch that one again because you're going to be fascinated by stuff. Basically, his girl brings him women to play with. They play with girls together. He plays with girls on the side. She brings him women because she knows she's his top girl. Because she knows that they are invested together. Partly because she's bi, right? So that's one of those things where if she's bi, then things get a lot easier, right? Because you get to share.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, she knows that she has that top space. and she does everything she can to earn it. She does everything she can to keep it.
Yeah,
But he's got to be on it. He's got to have his game on point in order to be able to keep on doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
he does.
It's tricky. Like me, I don't know. I'm just so focused on, trying to be consistent and grow my band, because that's where it's at, is the consistency. I know you'll learn even the
Yep.
more you do YouTube. It is not based on your talent, brother.
I'd like to think that it's because I'm pretty, but we'll go with that. Yeah.
It is not. You gotta hustle, and you gotta be consistent, man.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, there
Well,
are
that's the
those
thing is
few
that,
that get lucky, but you
yeah,
can't really base your success on hoping. You know what I mean? To be
no,
lucky.
hope is not a strategy. Well, the other thing is that, like, for everything, there's a season, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a time to grind. There's a time to relax. There's a time to focus on women in your life. There's a time to focus on your career. There's a time to focus on your health, right? And only one of those things can take your top slot, your top priority at any one point in time. Right
Right.
now, my top priority is my business. Getting this stuff off the ground, getting it sustainable, getting into this machine to the point where I don't have to worry whether or not the bills are going to get paid next month.
Bro,
Right.
that's exactly where I'm at, man. That's
And
it.
if that's the case, then women are always going to take second place, which is actually why I like having long-term relationships, because it means I don't have to constantly source women in order to get my needs met.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one girl that I can depend on. Even if I don't have the level of variety I would necessarily prefer, I've got other shit I'm working on, other shit that's more important. So I can take that low. I can go ahead and set that aside for a minute. I can be on my grind for a while, get this on lock. And once I got this on a good place, then I can go up and make up for lost time.
Right. It's a skill that I had when I was young that I lost.
What's
And
that?
you know what? I was gonna say I wish I had it, but I take that back. I don't wish I had it. But I remember when I was younger, in my 20s, and I was really into the sex thing and stuff, right? Um, I used to be able to fake it with girls. Like, I can't do that anymore. Like, I used
Why
to,
would you, man?
yeah, because I used to be, say if a girl was attractive, I would
Mm-hmm.
want to smash her, right? And I could hate her guts, but I would still be able to save face until, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, tonight for sure at 8. Fuck that. But
Yep.
now I can't do it. If I'm not, if I'm on a conversation and I get turned off, it's pretty much over with. It doesn't even take
Yes, indeed.
a drastic thing to happen. Like, it just could be the small nuances that are really just rub me the wrong way. But when I was young, oh, I could go take you for a ride. I could be hating your guts and be like, yeah, let's go hold hands and walk around for sure. Yeah. Oh, I meet your mama. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, they gonna give us the back house on Thanksgiving weekend. Oh yeah. you know.
Well, that's the thing, is like, as you grow older, as you mature, right? As you start waking up to the rest of the stuff that's going on in life, you start realizing what's actually important to you and
Mhm.
what doesn't really matter, right? There's all these guys in the pickup artist sphere and everywhere else that makes a big deal, like, oh, I only bang like 9s and 10s, man. I'm only hitting this chicks on Instagram and all this other stuff. And it's like, I would much rather make sure that they're actually good in bed and can actually connect and like can actually give me a good time than worry about how they look in a bikini. Now, I got my standards, right? Let's be honest here, right? You must be this hot to ride this ride. But beyond that point, there's other shit that's more important to me. There's other things that are going to be a bigger factor in terms of whether or not I'm able to have a really good time with this girl or not, right? And as you get older, you start to become more discerning about that. You start to figure out a bit better about what those things are in your life. And once you figure that stuff out, man, life gets easier.
What do you feel like? What do you feel like are your 3 pet peeves when it comes to women?
Oh
Like,
my
really, what
God.
really pisses you off?
I think the number one pet peeve I have is women who don't know how to turn off their work persona.
Good one.
Right. Because a lot of, like, let's be honest, if you're going to be in the professional world at all, you have to get hard. You got to be competitive. You got to be able to turn that on. Fair enough. So women to be able to play that game, they got to do the same thing. Fair enough. If you're with me, you better learn how to turn that shit off. because I am not here to deal with that bullshit. I am not here to compete with you. I am not going to play that game. That is not the way we're going to do. You want that? You can go somewhere else. That's not going to be here with me. Pet peeve number 2. Women who have no idea how to be domestic. Right? They don't know how to cook, clean, keep a house, right? If their ability to subsist, it depends on Uber Eats and takeout. Like, you're not my girl. Like, I grew up, cooking in the kitchen with my mom when I was like 5-6 years old. Like, I've been doing my laundry since I was 12. Like, I know how to take care of a house. I've been a bachelor for long enough that I can do just fine on my own. If you can't match my level of skill, there's issues, right? I think last but not least, man, what would the last but not least thing be? Oh, women who are overly materialistic. Like, if you're always worried about how shit looks for the Instagram, you are not my girl.
Yeah,
because you are far too concerned about the image of the style over the substance, right? Give me the substance every day of the week.
I won't take
that's going to have longevity
attached to social media.
Oh no,
you won't even get to that point.
No, you can't. Like, maybe if they're fun to be around, you have a nice little time once or twice, but you're not sticking around because, quite frankly, women who are like that don't have an idea of how to actually deliver value to a guy's life because they're too obsessed with the surface level appearance of things, and they're too obsessed with the dopamine hits they get and all the likes they get. All right.
I look at it like I need to be your source of validation, not everybody else.
Yeah. I need to pop off for just a second and take a quick break. I'll be right back.
All good. If you guys got some questions in the chat, put them in the chat so when my man Ryan comes back, we can get to him. Press 1 in the chat if you enjoying the chop up. Shout out to Nelly Nell. I'm gonna pull up this thing to show him real quick. Matter of fact, so when he get back, we can look at this. Hold on. Okay. Let me make sure it's the right one. Matter of fact, let's see. Okay, that is it. Cool. So yeah, Ryan never seen this before, so he gonna laugh at this. Let me take it off. I don't want to spoil it since I know it's there. Okay. Press 1 if you seen this. Ryan gonna laugh at this. Really chill vibe. Yeah, chill, man. See, this is what I like doing, bro. I don't like talking about expert level pussy chasing, I promise, man. That be y'all cats want that, not me. K0, salute, bro. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, well,
Ryan?
just one thing before you do that, man. Like, you keep on saying that you don't want to talk about like high level pussy labor and stuff. Like, that's essentially what we've been talking about the entire evening. We may not have been given like specific tactics, but we've been talking about that the entire night.
Well, what I'm saying by that is, guys, like, they don't. So that's actually a saying that I say. So when I say that, bro, it just means that a lot of guys. Now, this is a combination between me being a coach and coaching. So the point when I say that is guys. When I say that, it's like a pun that they live and die by sex and don't care about themselves. So that's what I mean when I say that. It's like live and die. Like, hey, bro, I want to get this girl. You got a job? No. You got a car? No. You got money? No. But I like this girl. So that's what I mean. So you went up on the inside. That's my inside joke that I say. Because guys, they don't even care about themselves. They don't care if to lose weight, get in shape. They just like, I got a girl, phone number. What should I text her? Fuck my whole life.
Ah,
So
kids
that's
these
it's like
days,
an
man.
ongoing thing that I say. So now you up and now you up on game. Because guys,
Now I get
like
it.
we'll talk about this deep shit. They'll be like, this was fire. So anyway, so this girl coming over tonight, so that's what it means. So it's like I care about the women too, but I also care about personal development, upgrading your mindset, putting your
Yep.
purpose, finding your passion, finding your dreams. And like a lot of guys, and mainly it's from me coaching, because before I
Yep.
start coaching online, I didn't know guys had it as bad as it. Okay, let me give you a perfect example. Right, this is where press a fire sign if y'all want me to break down the expert level pussy chasing the Ryan, so he really goes. Because this all came from a consultation I had, one of my first ones, right? So this was from one of my first consultations that I had. So I talked to this guy, and so he was dealing with this girl, right? You can hear me good?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you good.
I was boggled off of how much priority the cheeks were. So this guy was dating this girl.
Okay.
Um, he may have been 30. She was an older chick, like 45. So he was dating a
Okay.
45-year-old chick. She had 5 kids, 3 baby daddies, right? Still lived with her husband and spoke broken English. So he went on a date with this girl and didn't smash. So he booked the consultation because he's basically like, hey, I went on this date with this girl and she had that what I just told you. So what now? How can I raise her interest? And I'm like, bro, that like, bro, she got 5 kids. She lives with her husband. You really want me to teach you how to expert level pussy chase that? Like, you just can't find nothing better than that. I mean, I can tell you how to raise her interest, but how are you cool even dealing with that? Dealing with that as far as getting a consultation to figure out how to deal with that? Now you see what I'm saying? Like, it don't
Oh
matter,
yeah, yeah.
just sex. Like, even if you hear me say sex, that's what I mean. Like, that's all you guys care about, sex. Yeah, and it's like, damn, bro, you want to get laid that bad. There is no better option for you. At least a chick if a chick
Wow.
got five babies and live with her husband, she should be like sucking you and doing all of this. Like, you want to figure out how to get that, and then what? Like, that's gonna be your girlfriend? Like, so
No,
now you
no.
get it. That's what I mean.
Ugh,
That
that's
guys
terrible, man.
like, yeah, guys will be like, man, I talked about it on the stream. Like, the guy was like, he told me he didn't have a place to live. He said he was homeless. He didn't have a place to live. Didn't have no income. But yeah, he's DMing me asking me about, hey, bro, this girl I was dealing with, her friend's girlfriend said some stuff to me. Is it alpha or beta? And I'm like, bro, why the fuck does that even matter, bro? If you're alpha and beta when you sleeping in your fucking car.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
what. So now you get it. So it's like sex. It don't matter. Give me the expert level game. Give me that. I don't care about where I'm sleeping tonight. I just want
Well, if you
sex.
got expert level game, you don't have to worry about where you're going to sleep in the night because you always have somewhere to sleep.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where. But it stemmed from that consultation because I was like,
Yeah, I get you.
damn, bro, you booked my time for an hour to figure out about this. Like, that would be hell. I would be like, I didn't smash. Fuck that. That's it. Here,
Yeah.
let me play this thing for you. It's only like a few seconds.
Yes. Go for it.
So what do you think about Steve Harvey's advice on this? Because it's funny. Here he goes. Where's the sound?
Place to take a girl out on a date.
Somewhere that the girl wants to. I don't care if I don't like. I'm still gonna bring her there.
Boy, you better tell the truth. Take a girl where she like to go. It don't matter if you like it. That's, boy, you really, okay, let me ask you something else. What's the best way to keep a girl happy?
is to always keep her, is to always give her love and make sure she's good and never try to make her look bad. Always make her look beautiful.
Boy, you a good little dude, man. I like the way you think.
That's not good in real life, bro.
No, it's not. The first thing he was saying about like take her wherever you want to, take her wherever you want to, and doesn't matter if she likes it or not. That was the right answer. But that's all right though. That freaking oh my god though.
And then you know you got everybody co-signing too, like, oh my God, where's that little boy when he grows up? You got little boys that say that same thing to you grown up. It's just cute because it's coming from him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you get all these articles of like women asking, where have all the good men gone? It's like, well, they got married in their 20s to women who are actually paying attention. Right? They got locked down by girls that actually pay attention, right? And so by the time you get to my age, the only guys available that are around my age are guys who are either A, already been divorced a few times, so they're not really looking to wife up anybody anytime soon. B, they're guys who have their game on point, so they're living the lives that they want to, so they're not ready to throw that stuff out the window for a girl. Or 3, they are so bad at relationship skills that they never managed to lock down anybody yet. And if you're in your 40s and you haven't managed to lock down somebody yet, there's probably something wrong with you. Even if that's just you are not the kind of guy that wants to get married, right? Because there's some guys that just don't want to go there, and that's totally cool. Some guys just want to be playing the field forever. That's totally fine, right? If that's you, knock it out of the park. But that does mean that you're not really suited to getting married, right? You're not one of the good guys that she's looking for. So that's my thing.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't really want to get married either, but it's not for the typical like, oh, she can take half and stuff. I just don't like the entitlement and interaction when it's like we're each other's property.
Yeah.
Like it literally doesn't have anything to do with women, but I don't like somebody saying, well, not even saying, but feeling like they can say, hey, I called you. Why you didn't answer the phone? But if that's my wife, I can't be like, don't ask me. Like, it's my wife. Like we're supposed to be,
That is why you do the DS relationship with it. You add that dominant submissive thing in there so you can actually make that rule of, no, I don't have to tell you.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's just the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you do become partners. Now, however you run your partnership is on you. But,
Yep.
I can't be married and go ghost for a week and then come back and be like, what's up? I was in Brazil. What's for dinner? Like, I can.
There are limits. Yes, there are limits.
Yeah, it's not going to produce nothing good from it. So
yeah.
It be those little things, man.
Yep, I get it. Having that freedom, man. Once you get a taste of that freedom, once you get a taste of living the life the way you want to, on your own terms, whenever you please, however you please, that's addictive. You do not want to give that up. You do not want to give that up. And women don't understand that they really have to bring something heavy to the table to make you want to do that, to make it worthwhile, right? Like, let me ask you this, man. What would it take for a woman to make you give that up? What would she have to bring to the table? Is there anything that she could bring to the table that make you give that up, make you give up that freedom?
You mean, okay, we need to clarify this. We talking about marriage or settling down exclusive?
Let's say settling down exclusive. Let's go ahead and take the marriage thing off the table, the whole property piece off the table.
The marriage is going to be a no.
But no, like exclusive long-term relationship, right?
What would she have to bring to the table? Good question. I'm going to say she'd have, okay, boom. Now, I see that's why I like doing interviews, because you made me think of something that I never even thought about before. It seems like I should think about that, but see, like my history is I never really looked, like my father passed. I never really looked at I want a wife, I want a girlfriend. I never was like that either. Like you saying when you were young, when I was young, it wasn't like that for me either. But I know I did want to have a son though. And now I'm kind of cool without having kids. So that kind of made my game different now. You know what I'm saying? But what would it take? to get me to. Okay, this is what it would take. This is dope. It'd take a woman to give me an experience that mirrors no one else. That's
All
what it
right.
would take. And I'm not talking about just love. Like certain so put it like this. Certain negative traits that women have remind me of another negative women that I had. So
Okay.
if it's a controlling woman, and then it reminds me, I once I go through something, it reminds me of my past. You
Sure.
know what I'm saying? So I don't even just deal with this person. It brings me back to this because I remember how this ended up.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So it'd have to be experienced. Like first off, she would be have to be submissive and compliant.
Mhm.
And my peace of mind is the most important thing, man. But
Mhm.
she'd have to really figure that out, and it'd have to really take her to submit her own way of thinking to deal with mine because it's a whole thing. Like I'm pretty easy to deal with. I mean, I'm hard to deal with, but easy if you know the things. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
I'm complicated but pretty simple. So it's like you cannot try to brush off what you try on other people on me. You know what I mean? Like it's just certain things I don't like. I don't like to be questioned and like, but that's just me. I have a problem with authority, Ryan. It has nothing to do with dating though. So I just don't
Sure.
like people saying why this, why I don't like it, and I don't do it to other people either. So that makes it even more annoying because I don't put it off on you. You know what I mean? So she'd have to
Mhm.
just give me an experience and a vibe that I couldn't compare to no one else. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? I think that's what it would be. It'd just take that. Nothing sexual or nothing like that. I would just have to almost feel like I think I have to feel a combination between being by myself and knowing that she's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
the
get
good
that.
way
I
to
get
say
that.
it. Being by myself, but no one, and I'm not talking about a player, but just like having my space, but knowing that I got somebody that's
Yeah.
tenfold for me. But not because she's doing it because she want me to do something. That needs to be a part of her character. Because
Yep.
some
Yep.
women are submissive and it make them feel good. Some women are just submissive just because you're dominant and you require it. So
Yep.
I want her to feel good doing it. It's not.
Yes.
I don't need somebody who wants to follow my directions and stuff, and they got to breathe hard every time they do it. Like they'll do it, but it's you know what I
Yep.
mean?
It's a burden for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Like no, I want her to be like, I want to help you. I want you to, you know.
Yep. I feel you. I feel you.
So that was a dope ass question. Shout out to the War of Prey said Meek Dragon, your favorite coming in spamming. What's up? Rick Fleed, that's what's up. That's what's up. Zazzo, she'd have to bring another woman with her. See, I ain't even that deep into it. It wouldn't even have to be another woman because I put it like this. I'd rather have another woman than her bring another woman because she can't be control of that. She can be control of that on some
Yes.
sex shit, but on some long term shit that she can't be in control of that. I got to be in control of that.
Yep.
King
Exactly.
Dre,
Exactly.
just what do you say? Love is just a word. Respect, care, commitment, compliance, etc. are more measurable. That's
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, honestly. I think that love is an actual, it's a thing. It's a feeling. You can tell there's a difference between being in love with somebody and respecting them, caring for them, right, wanting the best for them. There is a difference. There is a difference. It's subtle, but it's there. And you kind of have to live it to know it, right?
right.
You kind of have to feel it to know it. But that said, there's an old phrase, love is not enough. And that is very, very, very true.
Yeah.
Love in and of itself is not sufficient.
Did
You
you
can
ever
love
have
someone
that
and not care about them.
ideology back in the day? Love
Yeah.
conquers all.
Yeah, that's why I
Word,
stayed for so long with wife number 2. Oh yeah.
loves to bring us through.
Oh yes. Yes.
What's up, Cody Chow?
I have made that mistake many of a times. Yes, that is
Love
exactly
is
right.
gonna bring us through.
Mhm.
You believe in love at first sight? You think that's not for you, just in general?
No, I believe in chemistry at first sight. But chemistry and love are different things.
Uh-huh.
Chemistry is just that innate recognition of that instant connection, right? But where that goes is different for everybody, right? Just because you got that click, just because you got that connection, that doesn't mean love. That doesn't mean marriage. That doesn't even necessarily mean relationship. It can just mean like really good sex. It could just mean really good friendship, right? It could just mean they're fucked up and broken in the same way you're fucked up and broken, right? So recognizing that kindred messed up spirit, right? Which is not a good basis of a relationship, just as a hint, right? So pay attention to those things when they happen, but then do your due diligence to figure out what's actually going on, right? And I'll say, like, those times when I've had that instant recognition, when I've had that instant like click, when I've had that instant chemistry, every single time there's been something really cool going on with that person. We've had a phenomenal time in whatever flavor that might be, right? Like I was telling that story earlier about the first orgy, the lesbian girl that I was trying to like hit on the entire weekend. We had a great time for like 3-4 months.
Right.
Right. Even though she was lesbian, even though we couldn't have sex, even though we're not going to be dating, right? We had this wonderful DS relationship. We got a lot of BDSM play. It was a great old time. And then she moved on to somewhere else for college, right? But I knew there was something going on the minute I saw her. Didn't know what it was. Had to spend the time to figure it out. Had to figure out how to like navigate that thing, right? But there was something there. Right. So pay attention to that stuff when it happens. Just don't let yourself get sucked into assuming that it's one thing or another. Do your due diligence.
Cool. I'm not gonna take up too much of your time. I do got a question for you that is, and this is just more of your opinion. It's not a right or wrong, but it's kind of what we just talking about now. What do you feel is, I wouldn't say better, but well, we'll just use better. The chemistry you just spoke of right off the top, or people growing on you? Do you think you can? Do you feel like you can get as deep as a connection when people grow on you, or does it have to be that initial spark? Because you said those every time you had those initial sparks, shit end up being cool. So do you feel like you can't get that if you actually grow on somebody?
Oh, I think you can definitely get there. I think that how to say it? If you have that initial click, if you got that initial like deep attraction, if that got that instant powerful chemistry going on, then you know there's something good there.
Right.
But you still have to do the work, to do the deep work and like actually figure out what that is and build that foundation, right? It's easy to get lost in that chemistry. It's easy to just like get lost in the surface level stuff. All right. The flip side happens whenever you're trying to build something long term, where you don't get enough of that sexual chemistry, you don't get enough of that initial fire to sustain you long enough to build that deeper bridge, right? So it goes, you have to do the work in both cases. There's different challenges in both situations. They both work if you're willing to put in the time, right? I think a good book on this one is actually Dr. Sean T. Smith, his Tactical Guide to Women. He talks about this whole honeymoon phase and how essentially for the first 6 to 18 months of a relationship, you're clinically insane. I mean, your brain chemistry is like fundamentally off, and it takes you 6 to 18 months to return to your like neurochemical baseline. So basically for the first 6 to 18 months of your relationship, you're both like basically insane. So you have to like wait out that you have to wait out that period before you actually see who that person really is, before you actually get back to who you are, right? To where you can actually make a decision of whether or not you actually have something worth keeping, right? So when I was telling that story about the girl I started dating after my second marriage and how I was basically monogamous for a year, I mean, that lines up very perfectly. A year after I started dating her, a year out of my marriage, like I'd done the work that I needed to do, that healed, I returned it back to my normal. At that point, it's like, okay, this is not suiting me. This is the wrong place for me to be, right? But it took a while for me to get there, right? We had that great chemistry right off the bat. We had a lot of deep connection. And it took a while for me to recognize not the right thing, right?
Hey, bro, that's crazy because I already have a foundation for myself, and I've spoke on it before, but I didn't have it down to a science. But you know what this is and guys laugh at me about this shit. I tell I'm talking, they literally roast me for this. I say I won't take a woman serious until a year. And they'd be like, a year? What? Why does it take that long? Or you're tripping. Why?
Now you got some science, bro.
But I didn't even make what you just said. Like I didn't even know all of that part. I just looked at it from his okay, because in a year we didn't have some ups and downs. We didn't been through some situations because the honeymoon is gonna be like 3-4 months of it. We're gonna be super great to each other, and then around 6-7 months we're getting used to each other. Then around 8-9 it fades off. Then the holidays come, it comes up, and then we hit a few barriers, and then it's like, okay, is this person made? Are they made strong enough to deal with me long term?
Yes.
Because of course when we're going, this is the Friday night special. We're doing this. We're doing that. Sex is excellent. Like we're gonna be super into each other then.
Mm-hmm.
But when shit gets routine and we get bored and we go through some spiffs, like I gotta see how a woman handles adversity and handles conflict, like all of this. And to me, it takes a whole year for that. But you got see, I knew I was in touch. Look, I'm in touch. I had that for the year. And I didn't even know I was doing that on accident, on purpose.
Accidentally on purpose, man. You'd be surprised at how far accidentally on purpose will get you in life as long as it's accidentally in the right way, right? And that's the thing is like you have to be able to see her kind of like through the full cycle, right? When things are good, when things are bad, when things are kind of mediocre, when things are improving, when things are getting worse, right? You got to watch her through all that stuff just to see how she reacts and who she is. Because some girls will be able to handle the good times. They won't be able to handle the bad. Mm-hmm. Some girls will want to be able to handle the bad, but they won't have the capability to really stand by you, right? They got the desire, but not the ability, right? And then you got to make that decision. It's like, well, do I really want to take the time to teach this woman how to stand up and the skills she needs to be able to support me in those times or no? Or do I want to find somebody else who's already got that, right? You know, and you just get to make these, you start seeing different facets of who they are and how they react in different situations. And the other piece is like you actually get to put them through different scenarios because there's no reason you can't put a girl in a situation to see how she reacts. Mm-hmm. Right? There's that whole concept of the vacation test, right? Where you take a girl on vacation just to see how she reacts to shit going sideways. Because no matter how well you plan stuff, something will go sideways when you're going on vacation. Something will go wrong.
Oh, man, I was in Rome, bro, and the navigation, the phone that we had, it broke, and then we didn't have no navigation on the car. Oh, that was terrible. Yep. Man, I was scared for my life. I'm telling you, because it's like, you know, over there, the driving shit is cold.
Oh my God, they're insane.
Bro. It's the worst shit I ever seen. The way it's set up and everything, and that's the worst. But you know what's funny though? But before I forget, is when I tell people that and guys that, what do you know what their response is?
What's that?
He's not gonna stay that long. Golly, bro, dominance mindset. It's not about if you want to stay or not. You already fucking up by saying that. I'm not doing that shit for her to approve of it. Like it doesn't go like that. Like, hey, sit down, lady. Let me tell you the rules. So we're gonna do a 365 probation. Like, no, that's just some shit that I just do without acknowledging it. I make the announcement. It's just in my head. You know what I'm saying? She ain't gonna stay that long. She gonna find somebody else. Well, then she shut. That's good.
Good.
That showed me that she wasn't into me like that. So that's what that does, fellas.
Or it shows you that she can't handle it, or she can't hang, right? And if that's the case, then you want to know that as early as possible, right? You don't want to be wasting time on somebody who's not going to be a good match for you long term, right?
Dave says, just saying no triggers them. Yeah, women hate rejection, bro.
Yes, indeed.
They hate rejection.
But I'll tell you what, a lot of times a girl's never been in a situation where a guy will tell her no. She's not been in a situation with a guy who actually has boundaries, who actually has like that self-esteem, that dominant space. And once they start recognizing that you're that guy, it's a switch that flips for them. It's like, oh shit, wait, really? Like this exists? Like I can have this? And then they start acting right in a hurry.
Right.
Because they realize how rare that is. They realize how rare you are and the things that, you know, how difficult it is to find somebody who brings those things to the table that you bring. That's part of why I get to date all these like younger ladies is because they can see that I have my shit together. They can see that I'm bringing something to the table that guys their age never do. That 90% of the other guys out there that are older than them never do. And like, oh shit, I better lock this down as soon as possible. and they can try. I'm more than willing to give them the opportunity to try. Whether or not they succeed is entirely up to me, right?
Man, you just sparked. This is gonna be the last question now because you just sparked something real quick that I want to ask you. Okay, are the benefits of you dating younger chicks? Is it a sex thing or is it a preference thing? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So there's a few different aspects of it. Like number one, just there's an inherent power disparity and inherent experience disparity between like me and a girl who's younger, right? You get a girl who's in her 20s versus a guy like me. I've been around the world. I've done a lot of shit. I've lived life very significantly, right? And I enjoy that mentorship role. I enjoy being the guy that gets to offer that guiding hand, right? So, and that's just a very natural dynamic that occurs when you've got an older guy and a younger woman, right? The next thing is like, I'm a dominant guy. I prefer submissive women. Younger women haven't spent enough time in the workforce and the world fending for themselves to have gotten hard and jaded.
Right.
So as long as they're not already have that, like, you know, aggressive masculine side dialed up to 11 through being an Instagram model in high school or whatever the hell, right? Odds are that they haven't developed that hard shell as hard yet. So it's a lot easier for them to access that more feminine submissive side. Right. Which doesn't mean that I won't date older women. They just have to have that prerequisite of able to submit, not have that hard shell, not have that chip on their shoulder, and not have 18 tons of fucking baggage that gets in the way.
Right.
That's hard to do as an older woman. Right. And if you get an older woman who's in her 30s or 40s, who's never been married, never been divorced, doesn't have kids, odds are that she's one of these boss babe career girls, which means that she's got that hard shell, which means she's going to have a really hard time setting aside that work persona because that's been her life and she's ego invested in that, which means she's going to have a very hard time letting go and submitting and a very hard time letting go and following. Right. So it's just hard to find girls that actually have the qualities that I want that are older. But at the same time, younger women bring that whole lack of experience and lack of skills thing. Right. So now I got to figure out about whether or not the sweet spot is really a late 20s, early 30s, maybe, where they're young enough to not be jaded, young enough not to have gotten totally corrupted, still young enough to be nice and hot. You know, younger, hotter, tighter is definitely a thing, but old enough to have a little bit of experience, old enough to have a bit of skills. And I don't know if that's the case. So I got to experiment a little, but that's okay. That's what life's all about, right?
Cool, man. Well, this was excellent. I actually can keep. I got gas, but I don't want to keep you up all night. We'll just have to do a part. You know, my job is over. I done already got off of work, so I'm chilling. But you know, give us some last words. Where can they find you? Where, you know, everything, name them all your stuff.
Yep. So hypnosisformen.net is my website. Let me pull up my YouTube channel right here. You can find me on Instagram as well as on Twitter as @hypnosisformen. I'll go ahead and get my YouTube channel up here as well in just about 2 seconds.
I'm going to play another song and give them a chance to click on it too. I want you guys to click on this channel when pressing 1 when y'all finish.
Boom. There you go. Right there. That's my YouTube channel. Go ahead and like, subscribe. I'm going to have a lot more content coming out over the next couple of weeks. Try and get on your level. There's my friend Paul from Apex Mindset. He's amazing. Paul, you got to sit down and talk to this guy. He really knows his shit. But yeah, you can find me.
We just talked YouTube about channel. You, brother.
We did. We're talking harem game. You got to hop on and talk to this guy, man. But yeah, find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter, find me on YouTube. My website, hypnosisformen.net. You can reach out to me via email, ryan@hypnosisformen.net. Look forward to hearing with you guys. You can book an easy 15-minute call. I'm more than happy to sit down and talk about whatever you guys want, how I can help you out with hypnosis, how I can help you get over the limiting beliefs you have in life so that you can live the life you want.
Good. Apex, thanks for the super chat. He said, hey, Ryan, obviously seems pretty cool. First time on this channel. Yeah, you guys subscribe. Hit me on Instagram, bro. We can chop it up because he already told me about you and you just happened to cut. That means you've been here the whole time. Wasn't saying nothing, wasn't you? You know, when you come in here the next time, no secret watching. Say what's up, Afi. Yeah, I'm cool as hell, bro. So we can chop it up for real. So let me ask you one more question. You familiar with Conan?
With who?
Conan the movie?
Oh yeah.
The Barbarian?
Oh yes.
Okay, well, guess what? So the outro. So I want you guys, when I play this song, I want you guys to go hit his channel up, go subscribe, and press 1 when you get back, because that's how we do. Look, we've been talking so long. I was sitting on my couch. It didn't got dark on me. I don't even feel like turning my light on. I was here at first.
Yep.
You know, make sure that you drop a comment at the end of the video. Man, we want to hit that algorithm and stuff. For me, follow me on Instagram at Dominance Mindset Raw Game. It should be down there at Dominance Mindset Raw Game. Check out my 4 books: Conversation with the Mind, Finesse Game, Analytical Confusion, and of course, Dominance Mindset of a Raw King. Check out my 32 module course, and also hit my food channel, Mukbang Talking to Strangers, ASMR, Expo Level Wrestling Gaming channel, Expo Level Wrestling channel, and the International Afi Podcast. So let me play this song for the outro, and you go over there and you spam Ryan and spam his Instagram too. And the name of this song is, oh yeah, one more thing too. If you guys came in late, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you go back and listen to the playback. Don't catch the last 30 minutes and be, if you came in here and said, this the last 30 minutes, hey, that was fire. This wasn't fucking fire the last 30 minutes. We went over so many different things. Game, hypnosis stuff, orgy stuff, BDMS, all. I'm telling you, like, if you didn't catch all 226 minutes of this, take your ass back. Promise you won't forget it. All right? So let me play this.
This has been a phenomenal stream, man. This has been a phenomenal stream. Thank you so much for having me on. Talking is always amazing. Love chopping it up on the channels, man.
I don't have to do it one and done. You all good with me. But
anytime you want, brother. Anytime you want. I'll tell you what, doing that panel with you guys at one Saturday evening, the whole No Simping Saturday, was amazing. That was a lot of fun. We'll have to do that again sometime soon.
Oh yeah, just come on next Saturday.
Sure. What time you guys do it? Like 9 o'clock Eastern?
8 o'clock.
Oh, 8 o'clock Pacific. Okay.
I don't have the topic yet. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. No, but you tell me you remember this song? It's called The Orgy. This is when he infiltrated.
You loaded this one up just for me, didn't you?
I did.
I love you, man.
Make sure y'all subscribe. Just came over from China White's channel. That's what's up, bro. She must have shouted me out because I've been over here for 2.5 hours. I ain't been nowhere but here. And he turned into a snake for the first time.
Yep.
I know my movies, bro.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Everybody have a good night. Appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. Hypnosis for Men, book a consultation, change your life. Fuck with me, change your fucking life. And don't book no consultation with me until you got the 3 things. Get your car, your APT, your CAR, and JOB. Then we can talk about the pussy. Good night, y'all.
All right.